Hello, friends. Welcome. Welcome on in. Hope everyone's doing well. Welcome to the 2021 Game of the Year stream. For those who've been around the stream for a while, you know how this goes. For those new, we're going to do a little bit of a breakdown of the year. Not exclusive to 2021 games, but kind of just some interesting stats, a breakdown of the year that we just had. And then after that, we get into here's everything I played and or beat in 2021. We whittle that list down, we organize it, we agonize over it. It's a good time. We're fully prepared. I know that we're post-Christmas, but we've got the Santa bandana to match the chunky Yoshi shirt. We're looking good. I will say, I decided randomly to string these lights right here behind me, and they don't really reach all the way over there, and so they're just kind of like loosely tucked into my PS4 and Master System games. So this string of lights could fall at any moment. You can be on light watch. All right. Scotch and Hobbies, good to see you. Scotch and Hobbies, a Polykill super fan and friend of the show. Good to see you over here. Welcome in and hope you're doing well. Dean, round 2, good to see you. How's that pizza tasting, buddy? Do you have that pizza? Round 2 here, this is the type of dude round 2 is. Round 2 messages me and says, hey, when does the stream start? I'm ordering a pizza and I need to time the pizza to the stream. That's where it's at, man. Trav. Hi. Don't you sass me. Matt, good to see you. Can DLC count as Game of the Year? If so, Final Fantasy VII Remake Intermission is your Game of the Year. We're going to talk about that in a little bit here, round 2. Rusty, good to see you. Can Friendship of the Year count? Because Blinkoon was too cool and kind this year with all these streams and great times. But in all serious, Kena Bridge of Spirits is my 2021 Game of the Year. I knew that because I listened to Mr. Ari Lewis's Otaku Brothers Game of the Year Super episode. And yeah, you all should check that out too. Go look up Otaku Bros.
And now can use some of his emotes, watch him play some lovely games, commercial free, but the best part of stream is when Sprite comes and says hi.
Hope you all enjoy the new subscribe alert. Good friend of the show, a good friend of the stream, Sancho Panda set that up for us. All right, we're still getting caught up here. Enjoy mangoes. You know my Game of the Year is Inscription. True. I do know that. And that'll get mentioned here in a little bit. So many games in 2021 you have not played, but Kena's high up there, and you need to get to and Returnal. Matt, you'll like Returnal. Sprite. Like I'm just going to offer that up on a silver platter. I thought I could trick some people into just telling me. Ample amount of Yoshi chunk, 100%. Yeah, Scotch, good to see you. QX, good to see you. Pizza just arrived and is delicious. What a time. Dan, good to see you. Mook, good to see you. Ross, good to see you. Yeah, that subtune. It's a little better when it's not being dominated over by intense music, but it's a song written by good friend Sancho Panda. It's a play on the Outer Wilds Ventures theme song. So yes, welcome in everyone. Thanks everyone for showing up. I appreciate it. We are going to have some fun, maybe fun at my expense today. So, before we get down to Game of the Year, we got to talk through some stuff. All right. This photograph, This is us. This is us right now, and this is us in 2021. This is me. I'm playing video games. Oh. Here, let me pause the other music so you can hear the full alert. You'll get one more of these. It's so good. Here's the full one for you. Oh, didn't play this there. Subscribe to Link's awesome Twitch channel you've unlocked, and now can use some of his emotes. Watch him play some lovely games, commercial free, but the best part of stream is when Sprite comes and says hi. Excellent stuff. Excellent stuff. And thank you, Ross, for gifting it. Ridiculous that one of those went to Sancho. I would have assumed that was on purpose, but could not be more fitting. Monica Blair as well. I know Monica will enjoy. Much love. Much love. So yes, I'll leave it to you to decide who this child is. You know, it could be Sprite, could be Leah, could be Nero, my cat. It could be all of you about to laugh at me as we go through this process together. Either way, all we need to know is that 2021 video games, they came out and they were good. So as we go through this, there's going to be a lot of heartbreak, probably more upset feelings than there are content feelings, but I just need you to be okay with that. But you know what? What are we doing if we're not talking stats, right? That's what people came here for. It's the type of thing that you might hear, you know, right here on Polykill. We gotta switch this to a little further in this playlist. Something a little less spooky. Jump ahead a bit. This'll work. So we're not going to go over the whole spreadsheet, but I've got some interesting tidbits for you. To start us off, our beats by year, okay? So at the beginning of the year, I set a goal for myself. I set several goals, actually. But one of those goals was I wanted to beat more games than I had in the previous year. In 2020, we just barely eked over the line of 100 beats, 100 games finished. And we crushed that in 2021. We have 120. It actually, that might be one or two games off. It might be 121 or 122 beats. I'm not exactly sure. This thing was updating in real time, okay? But yes, I beat more games in 2021 than I have in the last few years, and I don't have them listed here. It's definitely more than I beat in 2018. I think it might be the most I've ever beaten in 1 year, if you don't count like years where I was burning through a bunch of stuff on emulator back in the day. But yeah, 120 games is a lot. If you listen to Polykill, you're probably aware that I beat a lot of games because every week or every 2 weeks, I show up and I dump a fat stack of 7 beats onto poor Travie 2 beats over here, and he's got nothing on me. Except for that 1 week where he somehow beat me and I was embarrassed. So, yes, I am not going to set a goal in 2022 to beat more games than I did in 2021. Honestly, 120, it might be too much. It might be too many. I wouldn't mind if 2022 I spent some times with some meatier games, but this isn't it. This isn't our resolution stream. This is just us talking about what we played. But yeah, we crushed it for sure. For sure. Not a bad year. So this is an ugly eye chart, and that's because I beat one game on all of my consoles. We had another one of my New Year's resolutions at the start of the year was to beat one game on every console I own. And I'm glad to say that I achieved it. We did successfully do it. But that meant that this distribution is a little bit odd. But what we can pull out of this is, I was doing a lot of PS5, which makes sense. And when I track stuff on my sheet, I track it so that PlayStation 5 is... If I played it on PS5, I count it as PS5. So if it's like a digital, like an indie game that released on PS4 and PS5, I download it on PS5. Even if it's the PS4 version on PS5, I just say PS5. So PS4 and PS5 are kind of like mashed together into one big chunk. But yeah, pretty obvious that I favor the Sony consoles when I don't know what else I want to play. I was honestly surprised that Switch was as high as it was, because I feel like I didn't play my Switch as much this year. I have a little bit sort of... Me and the Switch have a complicated relationship, we'll say. And then surprise standout, the Vita. I mean, shout out to the Vita. I will say, most of that chunk of Vita stuff was done in the first 1 or 2 weeks of January. So I usually have time off at the beginning of the year, as I do right now. And last year it worked out so that was also Awesome Games Done Quick, the speedrunning marathon. And so I was just playing Vita stuff and watching GDQ, and I was just burning through stuff. I was kind of focused on trophies. Like, I wanted to get some trophies in some old Vita games. But it led to a pretty chunky Vita section. And then everything else is mostly just 1 or 2 beats here and there. Did someone say FF? Round 2 hears, he sees the shadow of FF7 at every corner and on every wall. The 1 week where Trev beat 4 Land Before Time games, that beat spoke to me. Yeah, but he did it because he had nowhere else to turn. He had to beat some Land Before Time stuff. It's not like you, Rusty, where his heart connects to Land Before Time in a more personal, intimate way. But yes, he is a man after your heart. Okay. Next up, by genre. So does this really surprise anyone? I mean, does it? To see mostly platformers. I've said it before, I'll say it again. The platformer is the primo genre. But yeah, I didn't break it down by like the subgenre, but I would say about 2/3 of these platformers were... it might be more like 50-50 2D platformers and 3D platformers. But I did play a lot of platforming stuff. Interestingly, we got a lot of other little bits and bobs in here. Adventure games, action and adventure, kind of generic genres, so you see those a lot. Shooters and shoot 'em ups. I think I actually crisscrossed what I referred to them at some point, so these might be kind of combined. Some of these are definitely first-person shooters, but a couple of these in the shooter column might be actually shoot 'em ups. There's a platformer-friendly stream right here. Part of that is that they're just so dang fun. Part of that is I was kind of on a trophy kick this year, and platformers tend to have really, like, delicious trophy, like, requirements. Usually in a platformer, beating the game and collecting everything is the platinum, which is exactly my preferred type of platinum. I don't have to replay things twice or anything like that. That puzzle number is shameful. I know. I know. I have shame. A lot of these are smaller than I would expect. Your graph would be mainly roguelike and roguelites? Oh my god. For stuff that you actually beat? I think I've beaten like 2 roguelikes in my entire life. What, Hades and... I never beat Dead Cell. It's literally just Hades. I beat Binding of Isaac. But yeah. So, surprising no one. Platformers ruled the roost. This one really surprised me. Are beats by the original release year. So I didn't think that I would be so 2021 heavy. Usually I don't play that much in the year that we're in. I usually play enough to build a top 10. But I didn't think I beat almost 30 games that were 2021 releases. Really surprised me. And then somehow 2020 not the second highest. Very strange. But yeah, a nice even distribution here. Again, this is this is largely attributed to the every system challenge that I was doing. I was playing stuff from all sorts of systems, so I was playing stuff across a huge spread of years. I think that, you know what, I will say, not this coming episode, but the one after on Polykill, we'll be talking about our gaming resolution, the resolutions for 2022. And I think release year might come back up. I know, right? It's surprising the number of 20. Oh, Returnal. Yes. Sprite reminded me. I did beat Returnal. We're going to talk about Returnal. You loved Returnal, but it's one of your... Wait. I'm very confused at that statement. I loved Returnal, but it's one of my least favorite roguelikes to date? How so? How do you love something that's one of your least favorite games in the genre? I love Returnal. Returnal's very good. All right, and then our beats by month. A nice even distribution here. You can see that over the summer I slowed down a bit. You know, we're going outside, we're having fun, we're seeing the sun. August, I took a trip in August, and just generally I think was playing a couple of longer games. But you can see as September and October hit, we really ramp up because we're starting to get towards the end of the year, and I realize I got a lot of systems I got to beat for this challenge. So November, as round 2 says, November was the oh shit month. We had to pick up the pace quite a bit. Over the Thanksgiving break, I beat a lot of games. Probably 10 games, something like that. Just a ridiculous amount. So, we're slowly creeping our way up here in December, but I don't know that we're going to get too many more. So, a nice even, you know, this is pretty typical. Higher in the cold months or in the warm months. You just didn't jive with you just didn't jive with the items. All you cared about was HP. The gameplay was tight. Okay. Challenge was challenging, but happy you did it. Yes. Yeah, it was really fun. I will say this. Beating one game on every system I owned was a really good way to get me to play with my hardware, to take out the machines, to mess with them. But it wouldn't be a sustainable goal every year. There's some systems that, like, I can't beat that many games for that system. At least not the ones that I own. And honestly, in some cases, my hardware was like failing on me as we went. I had a couple of systems have some technical difficulties because these things are old. So I like the spirit of it, and I want to... My takeaway being that I always want to set a goal that encourages me to play all my systems. That encourages me to play my huge backlog and play my collection, but it doesn't always have to be one. Dan, good to see you. Trevor McFur wins Game of the Year. If only. Do you think Trev would ever allow it? I mean, it's my stream. I can make whatever I want Game of the Year. But I honestly think that he would probably cut me in it. I really do. Yeah. And then here's an interesting one. This is less than last year. First time beats. So 96, almost 97% of the games I beat this year was a first time beat. First time I'd ever played it. Only a small handful that you can see on the left here were games that I replayed. And they were for a couple different reasons. Uncharted and Poi. Those were two games that I replayed to get platinums on. Uncharted was one of my oldest like list of trophies that I didn't have a platinum for, so I went back and I played Crushing on that. And then Poi has like an extra game mode that you have to go through. And so I replayed both of those. Obviously, anyone who's been around the stream for a long time or knows me at all knows why Eco's on this list. I replay it all the time, often in an hour and a half chunks while speedrunning it. So it is what it is. It's an easy beat to get in there. Trav would sabotage the stream if we named Trevor McFur. Thankfully, ineligible. And then those bottom two, Outer Wilds, I replayed that one to get the platinum. I was actually if I'm not mistaken, it was my 50th platinum. I wanted to replay something that I really liked, and I also was replaying it to have a 100% complete save file for the DLC that was coming. Since I originally played it on Game Pass and the game is no longer on Game Pass, I couldn't boot up my old save. So I had to replay it and have a new save, because having a completed save is actually like kind of relevant for the DLC. And so I replayed it. I will say this, for fans of Outer Wilds, it might seem like a game that you can't really replay, but I loved the process of replaying it. It let me pick up on a lot of little things I hadn't noticed, appreciate the little like bits of like hints and the little bits of signposting and the little bits of foreshadowing. It was just amazing. And then Aladdin, I just beat that on the Disney collection on Switch because I like had time to kill it. I think I was at Andy's shop at AG Row, for anybody who knows him from the stream here. And I think Sprite was getting a tattoo and I just had my Switch there and I happened to play through it. Forgot about the Uncharted nonsense. That's not a nonsense. It was good. But yeah, we burned through that. Tried to play it on Crushing for a platinum attempt. Can't do it. When was that, Rusty? It might be worth revisiting. Because I feel like if I approached it in a certain way, I was able to get through it in only a couple of sittings. And I bet you could too. And Matt, you 100% need to play. What was the game from 1979? It must have been one of my Atari 2600 games. So it would have been, what was the one I beat? Canyon Bomber, I think. And Lindis, good to see you. So yeah, almost exclusively new games that we played. Pretty good stuff. Fun facts for those curious. First game I beat was Kirby 64 The Crystal Shards. And the last game, the most recent game that I finished, was Spider-Man Miles Morales. An excellent winter holiday season game, I will say. If you're looking for something to play in the Christmas season, I mean, you always go play some Christmas nights in a dream. That's a given. But Miles Morales is perfect. Welcome in, Lewis, born on a Friday. Good to see you. Yeah, so I just beat Miles Morales yesterday, and actually, I should let Mr. Ari Lewis know this now. We just not an hour before this stream locked in the platinum on Spider-Man Miles Morales. We just finished the New Game Plus. So we officially have that platinum on Miles Morales. Rusty, you don't need to hop into a voice chat to let me to talk to me about it. I know you'll be tempted, but yeah, we got it. It's a fun game. Really liked it. I think Miles Morales is better than the 2018 Spider-Man. You were just checking out the Ego leaderboards. Oh, awesome, Lewis. Do you plan on running Ego? Welcome in. Good to see you. Not exactly an Ego stream right now, but we're very happy to have you hanging out. You just checked. Awesome. Possibly. Well, if there's anything I can help with, always feel free to message me. Oh, stable. You have good taste in streamers. All right, people. So those are our stats. That was the fun. And now it's time to talk GOTY. All right? We're talking Game of the Year. It's serious business. You all know it's serious business. We don't mess around when it comes to Game of the Year. But first, we've got a couple of rapid-fire awards to give out. And I'm curious to hear what all of you would nominate in any of these categories. Well, some of them you can't nominate anything. But our first one, least favorite beat. I know what my least favorite beat of the year was. But what was your least favorite game that you played through this year? Something that just did not click for you. We're getting the negativity out of the way up front. It's all going to be celebration from here on out. But sometimes a game doesn't land, okay? Sometimes a game just doesn't hit the way that you were hoping that it would. And you kind of regret playing it. You ready for your award? Nominate Animal Boxing for... Dan, your top 10 list must be absolute chaos. The Pathless is your least? You wish you loved... Oh, Matt. An arrow straight to my heart. Didn't like the Pathless? Loved the Pathless. Come on, man. Where's the timeout button? I know it's in here somewhere. Let's figure out how to time him out. Well, I'll let Sprite come down on you with the hammer of the justice with nonsense like that. I Am Bread is Scotch and Hobbies. I've not played that. Isn't I Am Bread pretty easy platinum? Hard to hate and easy platinum. Oh, I'm thinking of I Am Mayo. Or My Name is Mayo. That's the one I'm thinking. Alright, I've never played that. Oh, painful. Air. Linda, I'm sorry. I've apologized so much. 12 minutes, high hopes, and it let you down pretty hard, round 2? Okay. Lords of Shadow 1. You just beat I Am Bread today and it makes you mad? Ooh, I look forward to checking out that tweet. What's the deal with Lords of Shadow 1, Mook? Just really didn't like it? I was watching a stream. I was watching our buddy Wegaman, friend of the stream. He was playing it, and it looked awesome. Least favorite beat for you, or more like most disappointed, was R-Type Final 2. Ooh. Dan, you didn't like R-Type Final 2? I didn't play enough of that to consider it for my Game of the Year discussions, but when I did play it, I thought it was okay. I thought it was good, not amazing. Gave up on the gunk pretty quick, but you were disappointed. Oh, I haven't heard much about that one. That one just came out, right, Lewis? Yeah, I feel like it came out so late that people are going to kind of go right by it. For me, I can't believe none of you listed this game. I assumed everyone beat this game. Sir Eats a Lot was my least favorite beat. If you've ever played this is a 2D platformer on the Vita. I think I originally got it. It was a Play Asia, like physical print run Vita game. And it's just not good. I'm going to be honest. The only thing that kept me going through this was I was trying to get the platinum, and it was the wrong type of trophy hunting. It reminded me back in like 2006, 2007, when I was really addicted to 360 achievements, and you would just play some garbage games to get the achievements. I went into this expecting it to be better than it was. It did not land with me, but I kept playing it because I wanted to clean up the platinum. Wasn't worth it. Don't play. Not recommended to anyone. Very clunky 2D platform. Night in the Woods was your least favorite. Oh. Well, I'm surprised, Ross. A lot of people really like Night in the Woods. Felt very painfully average low-budget effort, especially compared to R-Type Final 1. That's fair, Dan. Yeah, that's fair. Gameplay reminded you of other games at the time like God of War, which you're not really a fan of. Okay, Mook. All right. I might actually stream Lords of Shadow someday, so you can either yell at me for having bad taste or steer clear of that one. Art for Suri Till Out looks pretty. It is a visually nice looking game. Talked about it on episode 3 or 4. I don't even remember you talking about that, Rusty. You know, I might not have ever listened to episode 3 or 4. I don't remember when I joined the Otaku Squad, but I want to say it might have been episode 9, but I'm not sure. All right, next up here. This isn't one that any of you can nominate a game for, really, but I'm curious to know what the answer is for all of you as well. What is the game that you played for the longest? That you put the most time by hours into this year? Now, most years, this ends up being me getting caught up in a rhythm game addiction. And honestly, there's maybe still a chance that the answer to this one is In the Groove 2, which is often the game I play the most. But not that I know of this year. Hades, 2 Hades. Interesting. Divinity Original Sin, that makes sense, Linda. That checks out from conversations we've had. Loving to see 2 Hades. Forza Horizon 5, wow. Big Forza fan, huh? That's awesome. Diablo 2, oh, that makes sense. That makes sense. Assassin's Creed Valhalla, okay. Yeah. Very nice. For me, a surprise, I think, to no one. For anyone that has been following the stream for a while, we did a lot of this. Dragon Age Origins. We put about 55, 60 hours into this bad boy. Some of the other close contenders were Dragon Quest 11. I played about 45 or 50 hours. And there were a lot of games I put like 30 hours into this year. Returnal, Pokemon Unite. Probably at this point, Shadowverse. Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. You got addicted to getting 100%. Oh, wow. That's wild, Matt. Did you actually achieve it? Yeah, people with good taste indeed, Spray. Unless you count the Dot Hack games all as one. That was 4 million hours. All right, this one isn't one that you can vote on unless you have something that you played that you thought was particularly jank this year. But what is the most jank game I played? What about a game that is literally jank incarnate? And I know what you're thinking. You'd think that it would be Trevor McFur. You would think. But it is a game that literally defines itself. It stands on the pedestal of jank proudly as the victor. It is, of course, the 2021 smash hit, Lizard Lady vs. the Cats. I won't even explain it to you if you don't know about it. Just get onto PSN and buy this game. You will not regret it. Legend of Heroes Trails of Cold Steel. Oh, wow. Dang. Dan, you beat both of those this year? I played 15, 20, or maybe like 10 hours. Not 15. Probably like 10 hours of the first Trails of Cold Steel. I think the Trails of Cold Steel. Was that on the Vita? I have not gotten really into that series, but I want to check out Trails in the Sky. Oh, your most played was Soul Calibur 6. Ooh, interesting pick, Scotch. Elder Scrolls Arena was so jank. Cyberpunk's a good answer for jank. Overblood PS1, that from what I watched seemed kind of jank. I've seen some switching of that. I think I missed that stream, but the game looks jank from that art. I don't think I streamed that one, Zug. It's like a 5-minute game. There's no need to stream it. Yeah, go check out Lady in a Leotard with a Gun if you're a fan of Lizard Lady vs. the Cats. Plague Road was pretty jank. Okay. Not one that I've... Wait. Have I played that? The Left Alive, painfully jank and insufferable, but oddly has the moments of being entertaining, sometimes for the wrong reasons. I've almost bought Left Alive many times, Dan. It just seems like such a PS2 game, even though it's on modern systems. All right, and our last one here, borrowed from our good friends, the Otaku Brothers. What's the slappin' OST of the year, all right? What's the best music you heard in a game this year? What soundtrack are you going back to most often? Listening to time after time? For me, I mean, we're listening to it right now. So, it's got to be Fantasian. For anyone that's not listened to Fantasian's soundtrack, you really need to go check it out. First off, the soundtrack is massive. There are so many songs in this soundtrack. But many of them composed by our good friend Nobuo Uematsu, you know, of Final Fantasy fame. And he brings the heat. A lot of the songs they use a lot of synth, so it's not all just orchestral, which I actually really like. It's a good like throwback to the way that songs in the PS1 era sounded, but then modernized and made to sound a little more fleshed out and a little more rich. Really good. Sayonara Wild Hearts. Oh, I mean, if we're counting non 2021 games, heck yeah. Sayonara Wild Hearts is the best soundtrack almost ever. One of my top 10 probably. Final Fantasy VII Remake. Oh, so good. It's so good. Demon's Tilt. Ooh, good pick, Move. I haven't played that. Nier Replicant. I mean, it's like unfair that a Nier remake came out this year because obviously Nier is going to win an OST award, but I respect it. And SMT5, a good pick too. Persona 5 is a regular listen. Nice. Hades, not a 2021 though, and Disco Elysium. Hades is an amazing soundtrack. Lewis, I'm so glad you mentioned Disco Elysium. That song that plays when you're out in like the main world, that like every time you leave a building and that horn plays, oh my gosh, so good. For anyone that's never listened to the Disco Elysium soundtrack, you have to give it a listen. It matches the game so perfectly. Oh good. Or Sheikah, but ActRaiser Remake was also amazing. Ooh. Two interesting but decidedly Lindis picks. All right, good. I'm glad you found a technicality that'll let you switch it back to just ActRaiser. Halo Infinite. Good pick. Good pick. Afro Samurai. All right. It's time to talk Game of the Year, people. So here's our rules. This is the rules that I impose on myself. Let's all remember that Game of the Year is arbitrary. We all define our own box and then we have fun organizing and constraining ourselves within that box. So you might have other rules, but this is how I generally do it. A game is eligible for us to put it up for a Game of the Year or in the top 10 if it was first released or localized in 2021. So that allows us to say, you know, if a game was only ever in Japan, never was ported, never was localized, and then comes to North America in English for the first time this year, we can count it. A good example of that was Moon Remix RPG last year. That way we don't have to punish games that just never came to the States in time. I don't put any updated versions of previously released games on my list. So if it's like a Game of the Year edition or, you know, like the remake of the director's cut of Ghost of Tsushima or Death Stranding that came out this year, I don't count those because otherwise it just creates the potential for the same game to appear multiple years in a row. I don't include remakes or remasters unless I think that they are significantly different from the original. this is the squishiest one because it's kind of a case-by-case basis. What I would consider a remake or a remaster. But like, you know, if a PS2 game just gets like an HD texture port and then comes to modern systems, I'm not going to count that. But if something like the Resident Evil 2 remake, that I might consider counting. It's just it's different enough. But it's a real soft scale, and I'll be honest, sometimes you nudge it one way or the other depending on how much you like a game, but it is what it is. Beat Hoa yesterday, and that soundtrack was really nice. Kind of caught me off guard how nice the OST was. Yeah, that was one of my favorite parts of that game. Dan, the soundtrack and the visuals of Hoa are way better than the gameplay of. Hoa is all vibe and like very average, minimal fun. But I liked it for that. That's what I wanted it to be. And yeah, Scotch, I would say. But again, it's case by case. And at the end of the day, yeah, these games are all... There's just so many good games. And we're here to talk about them. We're here to talk about them. So let's just celebrate some good games. I said this in the past, but I will say, sort of thematically this year, I don't know how all of you feel, but I feel like 2021 was not a legendary year for games. Like, there are many games that came out this year that I liked quite a bit, some games that I would even say I loved, but I don't know that almost any of these are going to be like, you know, none of them would be candidates for my top 10 of all time or like lifelong favorites. That we need to see how it shakes out. You know, we can't say that for sure so close to it, but I feel like it was just like, it was a solid working year overall. Oh my gosh. Hang on. What is this? Look at that. You gotta say hi to the people. You don't have to come over the police.
Yeah, the do not.
Yeah. There she is. The food delivery is here. 2021 Game of the Year. This burger and apple and peanut butter that I was just delivered. Yes, so I will say this too. I didn't mention at the top. I sent Sprite all the nominees before the stream, and I told her, without consulting with me, build the top 10 you think I will land on. And if there's time at the end or on another stream or just on Twitter or something, I will post up how her guess compared to my actual final result. I try my absolute damnedest not to think about what my game of the year will be until we are live on these streams, because I just don't want to spoil anything. I don't want to have the list be done, show it to everyone, and then the stream is over 10 minutes. Combat Kid, good to see you. All right, and then just, you know, one final thing that we got to clear up. There was a lot of games that came out this year, and I can't play them all. In fact, I would say I played not nearly enough of them. So everything that you're seeing on this screen right here, these are all games that I'm interested in that I didn't have time to play, which is just overwhelming when you look at it. Like, isn't that just ridiculous? So some of your favorites might be showing up in here. I know a lot of people feel real strongly about Tales of Arise, Deathloop, Resident Evil Village, but I didn't get to any of those. These came out this year. I thought that it was first published at the beginning of 2021. Doesn't matter though, because even if it was 2020, as it turns out, I didn't play it. But a lot of indie stuff in here I meant to get to. Eastward looks like a really cool JRPG. Toem looks like this just awesome sort of Pokemon Snap type game. Platformers like Omno. A lot of really cool looking like isometric games like Unsighted, Souls-like Grime. I didn't get to SMT5, which I know was a lot of people's favorites. I would say that of the ones on this list right here, the ones that are maybe most painful that I haven't played, Sable. This was one of my most anticipated games and it is such a Blink game. Like, it is squarely in that games that really love eco box. But I actually played a little bit of it. I played like the first 10 minutes of it on Game Pass, and it just didn't run that great. I have an original Xbox One. I don't even have a One X or a Series X, and this game already has some performance issues, and I was like, I don't want to have like a weak experience playing through this in an optimal way. And Lake is another one that I really want to check out. For anyone that's never seen this, it's a game where you literally just play as a postal carrier. You're a woman who goes back and visits her hometown and for a couple weeks decides to deliver mail and meets the inhabitants of the town as you go. Really just seems like a chill game. But yeah, Astalon is a cool, like, retro, modern platformer. Mundan, Inscription, kind of horror and horror adjacent stuff. There's just so many good games that we just couldn't get. Yeah, I feel like Inscription is probably a lot of people's game of the year that I didn't play. Oh yeah. We can only operate in the confines of what we did play. And finally, there's yet another final note that I need to give you. To be clear, Outer Wilds, Echoes of the Eye, would be my game of the year, and it would not even be close if I was counting DLC as a candidate for game of the year. It is a crying shame that this is not a standalone release. It essentially is a standalone release. It is completely independent of the original release, but it blends into the world and into the narrative of Outer Wilds perfectly. It's like 10 hours long. It does all new things. Like, literally, if Echoes of the Eye was released as a sequel to Outer Wilds, I think everyone would be fully content with that. So it's really just on technicality that it is a DLC. And so it's not a game that came out, it's a DLC that came out this year. Easily wins best DLC though. Your 2021 probably is also your 2022 GOAT. Oh, Dean, give him a try. Yes, Rangoro knows what's up. Echoes of the Eye is incredible. Ari Lewis, you're shaming me. All right, and so with that, let's unveil the list of candidates for 2021's Game of the Year. There we are. Here's everything that I played, enough of, or completed in 2021 to consider it for Game of the Year. Now, as we often do, we usually go through, we pay a little lip service to each of these games, right? We want to give each of them their due, give them a shout out, give kind of the rundown, and then we'll start making cuts. Then we'll start chopping these things up. Some games in here that may surprise you. Of all the games, Matt jumps at Tori 3D. I respect that, Matt. It is a lot, Lindis. I mean, you saw the bar graph of 2021 releases. We weren't messing around. So, Tormented Souls. For anyone that has not played this, Tormented Souls is a throwback to Silent Hill / the first 3 Resident Evil games. Really good horror game. Like, surprisingly good. I feel like people were kind of sleeping on this. I could see this one sort of like hovering under the radar for a while and then picking up steam and seeing people eventually consider this to be one of the better horror games that's come out. We played this one during Halloween and it was a good time. I beat more 2021 games in 2021 than you did any game. Okay, but to be fair, Lindis, you've been playing some meaty RPGs. Meaty. Yeah. The Tormented Souls, if you're a fan of classic survival horror, like tank controls style survival horror, even though you don't have to play with tank controls in this game, definitely check out Tormented Souls. 12 minutes? 12 minutes is a contentious game. It is in the proper time loop theme this year. 2021, definitely year of the time loop. And yeah, I think a lot of people have a pretty strong reaction to 12 minutes. It narratively does some interesting things and has some cool ideas. It can be a little clumsy, a little ungraceful in its execution. That's okay. Okay. Next up here we have Neo, The World Ends With You. This is probably one of them that I am saddest that I didn't play all the way through. I just didn't have time to get all the way through it, but a sequel to one of my favorite DS games of all time came out this year, and it really retains the feel of that original DS game in a lot of ways. You know, soundtrack sounds just as good. It's a very similar setting, and most impressively, I feel like they adapted the combat very well. So if you played it on DS, you know, the combat in The World Ends With You was very much focused on the 2 screens. You were ping-ponging back and forth between both of those screens, and it had a pretty complex control scheme. Neo, The World Ends With You maps kind of like the hectic pace of that first game's battle system into like single button combat in a way that actually is surprisingly effective. Better than I thought it was going to be. Tormented Souls looks very cool. Tormented Souls. Did I beat Twiwi? No. I got like into week 2, I think. A chunk of the way into week 2. How far are you come back? All right, next up we have World's End Club. Honestly, I'm gonna be real with you. We're not cutting stuff yet, but I don't think World's End Club is gonna get too far. So this is like a visual novel / occasional 2D platformer that's made by some of the same creative talent that did, I think, the Zero Escape games, like Virtue's Last Reward, 999, etc. I think that's who it was. But it had the development, or the director has pedigree in this sort of genre, so I was very excited for it. But it just didn't. I don't know. It didn't connect with me. The story was not what I was looking for. Kena Bridge of Spirits. What can we say about Kena Bridge of Spirits? I mean, phenomenal indie game. If you can even call it indie, in a game that looks that good. I know that the studio, the brothers that developed it, have a history in like animation and production assistance on CGI movies and stuff, but wow. What a beautiful game. Excellent soundtrack. I feel like a real good blend of what made some of the platformers in like the PS2 and maybe early PS3 era good, while also feeling a little bit more modern in some, like take the better parts of like a Jack and Daxter, combine them with maybe like some Enslaved Odyssey to the West, and that's what you get. You get Kana. Very good. Psychonauts 2. Just incredible. Like the thing I will say about Psychonauts 2 is it is a very well made, very competent, very fun 3D platformer. But this game has so much more heart than I was ever expecting it to have. Like the performances and the voice acting and the the mocap / animation, including the facial animation, so good. They very touching. It's one of the games where I was most like rooting for the characters. Really, just genuinely love it. Very good platformer. Highly recommended. Before Your Eyes. This one's a brutal one, people. So Before Your Eyes is you might have heard about it. This is the game where it uses your webcam, and to control the game, you blink. So your webcam is using eye tracking, and when you blink in real life, the scene in the game changes. And so they do a lot with that to like really do a good job of selling the story to you. There's moments where you just desperately want to stay in that moment and like just experience this moment a little bit longer, or like just see what this character has to say, and you're literally straining to keep your eyes open. It's so just it's so unlike anything else. Very cool. I do apologize to everyone, though, that I have now spoken about blinking, and so your ability to control your blinking automatically versus manually has been disrupted. Sounds really hard to... Yeah. Jacob Geller had an awesome video about Before Your Eyes. You really want to play it? Mm-hmm. Good video, too. I quite like Jacob Geller's channel. Yeah, really good game. Hyperbeats, you may have seen me do a stream of this. This is an NES. It's a game for the NES that plays like Dance Dance Revolution, a game you all know that I quite love. Put on by someone who is known in the dance game community, goes by the name Cardboard Box, or just Box a lot of times. He developed it. And yeah, it was a really good rhythm game. Had a lot of like modern conveniences that I would look for in like scroll speed and stuff like that. Very fun. So if you're looking to download like any ROMs or check out any homebrew third party, I guess you could say, NES games, Hyperbeat's very cool. Yeah, a modern rhythm game on a retro system. Especially since my name is Blink. Exactly. Chicory. So we streamed the first part of this, but I absolutely adore Chicory. So the hook of Chicory, if you've not seen it, is that the entire world is black and white. All the color has been drained out of this world, and you become the wielder of this magical brush. I can't remember. It might be called the Celestial Brush. I'm not sure. But you need to restore color to the world. And the minute-to-minute gameplay plays a lot like a 2D top-down Legend of Zelda game, so like a Link to the Past style. But with this mechanic that at any time, your cursor on screen is the paintbrush, and you can color things in. And they use it in all sorts of ways. You know, sometimes you'll need to color things in to meet certain conditions. You get certain traversal mechanics and certain like abilities that you can interact with the color that you've put into the world in different ways. Sometimes it really feels like if Zelda and Splatoon had a kid. Just a really good game, and another game that has a very touching story. Has the message of the game. I mean, there's a couple sort of themes that come about in Chicory, but it does a phenomenal job of making it kind of personal and making the characters just like eminently likable. Bowser's Fury. So this is the open world Mario game that came out this year. I mean, it's interesting to see Mario have a spin on the Mario formula, and to see Mario like put into an open world environment, but in a way that still feels like Mario. I thought it was really fun. I think it has potential for them to blow it out into a bigger game. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if a full Mario game came out with this concept. I think they'd have to do some things around making traversal a little bit more, or a little less cumbersome maybe. But in the small contained world that they had where you could swim around on Nessie's back, worked out really well. Forgot about Solar Ash. Yeah, I'd be curious too. Like Sprite, I'd be curious what you think if you do play it. All right, we got Ratchet and Clank. Ratchet and Clank was just like a really solid next-gen experience, right? Beautiful game, a lot of fun. You know I love a good 3D platformer. And gosh, Rivet is just an excellent addition to that cast and crew, is she? Yeah. Very fun game, quite enjoyed. Returnal? Oh, one of my biggest addictions this year was Returnal. There were several days where I spent like 10 hours. We'll stop for meal breaks, but I spent essentially the whole day just grinding through Returnal because I was so into it. In terms of like gameplay, it's got to be one of the like best, most responsive, smooth third-person like shooter platformers. Just so good. All the different areas, all the different biomes were super interesting. I feel like they did good in making each run like familiar, but also not the same every time. Like, it's randomized, but there's rooms that you'll learn very quickly and you'll start to like familiarize yourself with them. I always felt like I was having a good mix of understanding what was in front of me, but also not knowing what was around the next corner. Andy, what's up, dude? Ratchet and Clank was the shit. Ratchet and Clank was really good. You want to go back to Returnal for sure? You thought about it today? Ooh. Solar Ash. Oh my god. So this is the Solar Ash was the new game from Heart Machine, which is the studio that did Hyper Light Drifter. And it's basically like Shadow the Colossus meets Jet Grind Radio with a Sayonara Wild Hearts visual style and color palette. Just a really beautiful game. And like very smooth, a game where just movement is fun. Just fun to move around in the world. I played a bit of Splitgate this year. So Splitgate is basically Halo, but with portals. Very fun, free-to-play multiplayer shooter. Kind of just like a go-to quick fix first-person shooter game for me. I don't play a lot of first-person shooters, but every now and again, I get in the mood. I want to play one. And if you want to just play a couple of matches, it's really good. The added dynamic of the portals that you can shoot out so that you can like sneak up behind people or shoot people from the back makes it so that if you have really good spatial and environmental awareness, that you'll usually be successful and you'll usually come out on top of your team. Very action-packed game. Pretty fun, yeah. Splitgate, really enjoyed your time with it. I know, it's a shame, Rusty, that we never got a chance to play together. Tori 3D. This game is dirt cheap on the eShop, and it's just a really like straightforward, just kind of like A to B 3D platformer. It's a lot of fun. It's better than it really has any right to be. It's not a core shaker. It's certainly not the best platformer I played this year, but in terms of very cheap downloadable titles, it's not a cash-in. It's a good solid hour of fun. One of my sleeper hits this year was Shadowverse. So if you've never played this, if you've played the card game Shadowverse itself, then you'll know what this is. But Shadowverse, when Hearthstone was really popular, Shadowverse was like trying to capitalize on the popularity of Hearthstone. And so it's a card game that's basically like a Hearthstone clone with a couple of mechanical twists, which I know is ironic because Hearthstone is already like a majorly simplified version of like Magic the Gathering. But the Shadowverse card game came out, and then years later it was successful enough to spawn an anime. And so there was like a more kids and teens focused anime called Shadowverse, and then that anime ended up getting a video game release on Switch called Shadowverse Champions Battle. So this is the video game based on the anime, which is based on the card game, which is a clone of Hearthstone. And so the mechanics, it's just, you're just playing that type of card game. Like, this is basically the modern Pokemon trading card game for Game Boy Color. You can run around, you can challenge a bunch of people, you can buy all with in-game currency, you can buy booster packs, you can build decks, you get deck codes from other people to then build and use their decks. There's different challenges and stuff. They have a really fun challenge mode in there where they give you set like board states. So you have, specific cards in your hand, specific cards on the board, specific enemy cards on the board. And then they give you a condition that you have to figure out how to solve with that board state. Very addicting. All right, and then new Pokemon Snap. We finally got a new Pokemon Snap. I mean, come on. What more can you ask for? I think for a lot of people, it didn't connect as much as the old games, and, nostalgia is powerful. But I think, overall, a pretty worthwhile follow-up to the N64 game. It was cool to see a lot of the newer Pokemon in Pokemon Snap. And, I mean, it's just such a simple, cozy gameplay loop. It's hard to argue with just taking cute pictures of Pokemon. And they added a lot more in for people that want to min-max stuff. Puzzles are addictive? You're darn right they are, man. Cannot believe Pokemon Snap came out this year. I know. What is this year, right? All right. Next up, I have to give a shout out to this game for any of you that have not seen it. Puzzling Places. So this is a VR 3D jigsaw puzzle game. So if you've ever seen those things, I know these existed in the States. For anyone who's not in the States, I don't know if they were available for you, but there were these 3D puzzles that you could buy back in the day. So it would be like, the Statue of Liberty or Big Ben. And it would be a 3D puzzle that you would just like clip together jigsaw puzzle style. They call them Puzz 3D. Puzzling Places is that in VR. So strap on the headset, you just have a bunch of pieces, and you're just using the Move controllers in my case because I played it on PSVR, but it's also on Oculus, I believe. And you're just clicking pieces together. It's one of the most relaxing games I played. Very good at like letting you unwind. Very like meditative, just plays soothing sounds in the background as you play it. You can adjust the environments to be any color that you want. And then as you start to build the model of these different places, you'll start to hear ambient sounds to the pieces you've put together. So like if the model that you're building in 3D is of a storefront, when you collect all the pieces and clip all the pieces of the window together, for the storefront. And then if you get close to that piece you've built, you'll hear sounds from the street. You'll hear people walking by and cars and stuff like that. It's ridiculously good. I've only played it for a few days, and Sprite can attest to this. I was constantly singing its praise, and I will definitely be playing it more in the near future. It got me to, play my VR again for the first time in a while. Matt, do you have a VR to play it on? If so, high recommend for VR. No cats are Exactly. You can build all the puzzles you want, and no one there to mess it up. And, it's set up for you to basically be able to play it forever, because it has like 20, 25, 30 different puzzles. I forget how many. But for all of them, you can decide if you want 25, 50, 100, 200, or 400 piece puzzles. And a 400 piece puzzle is going to take you a long time in this game. A long time. It's a really simple concept, but it's really good. All right. Jet the Far Shore. So this is the first game that the same developers that did... Oh gosh, I'm going to blink. What's the name of it? Where's Courtney when you need? Oh, it's around the tip of my... Super Brothers Sword and Sorcery. So if you've ever played Super Brothers, an excellent game. The fact that I forgot its name is no indication on its quality, only that I am streaming. But Super Brothers Sword and Sorcery is an excellent indie with an incredible soundtrack. And it was a one and done game for that studio. They made it, and then a decade went by and they didn't make another game until Jet the Far Shore. And it's such a Your Mileage May Vary game. I would say that it has vibes for days. It's a fascinating game for me. I don't always know if it's super fun to play. I will say that. All right, Lizard Lady vs. the Cats. Again, I will give you no sales pitch. You can look it up for yourself if you want to. It is jank incarnate. Maquette. This is a spatial puzzle game. And this is published by Annapurna, and I very highly trust stuff that Annapurna publishes. This one was free on PS Plus, so more of you might have played it. It is fun. It is good. It's got some talented voice actors and stuff. The puzzles are all about size and as it relates to the space that you're in. So often there's things where you can manipulate objects to adjust their size or go in and out of real locations and model sized versions of those locations. Much harder to explain, but it's much more intuitive when you actually play it. And they do some cool stuff with the puzzles. They do. Fun game. Not a core shaker, but fun. Metroid Dread. Anybody play this game? Anybody heard of this game? A little bit of an indie one. Not a lot of Metroid fans out there. But it's good to play a new Metroid game. I don't know how much to belabor the point on this, but I was a fan of Samus Returns, which was Mercury Steam's previous Metroid game. And to see them do a full-fleshed game was pretty encouraging. I gobbled this game up. I beat it in 2 sittings because I was just so happy to have a new Metroid game. I think that they added some cool new powers. It plays very well. Samus controls super well. Fun game. Fun video game. All right, Minute of Islands. I never finished this. This is more just oh yeah, I remember that game. It's basically a point-and-click adventure, but it's more story than it is puzzles. Very beautiful game, where you play as this young girl who's going from island to island, sort of reactivating these ancient Colossus creatures, kind of like Attack on Titan-y in vibe. Weird game, interesting, kind of slow pace. All right, Operation Tango. Hopefully many of you were able to catch our legendary Operation Tango streams. But this is a asynchronous co-op game where one person plays as the hacker who's in front of a bunch of computers and terminals, and one person plays as an agent who is on the ground investigating an area. And so smart, so genius. Like, yeah, it's a lot of call and response. Like, the agent will be like, oh, I'm looking at a server rack and I'm seeing these 5 different IP addresses. And then the person being like, okay, well, do you see this particular IP address? If so, I need you to boot up that server and let me know what it says on screen. And then the person will be like, okay, I see these symbols. Very back and forth like that to puzzle solve. Similar to Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes, if you've ever played that. Really cool game. And I played it with Mr. R.E. Lewis 2011, friend of the stream here, who may or may not still be hanging around. So, Sancho, you're sad how late you are and how little you can be here. Oh no! You just started Operation Tango with a friend. Yes, it's so good. Also, everyone, please give Sancho credit for that incredible new subscription alert that you heard earlier. And yes, good mention, Sprite. We will almost certainly upload the full Game of the Year stream here to YouTube, so you'll be able to check it out there. Balan Wonderworld. You all know I'm a Balan Wonderworld fan, okay? Don't listen to what people online are saying about Balan Wonderworld. This game has been dogpiled unfairly. Is it the best game you've ever played? No, but it's trying to be a very specific type of platformer, and by and large, it does a good job being that type of platform. It has a couple of flaws. It has some things that I think are odd design choices, but it's got phenomenal music. It's relentlessly positive. Like, I think a lot of people would say that this game is like cringy in how positive it is, but it's nice to see a game that's just like outwardly happy. So Balan Wonderworld, a legitimately cool game that I played this year. Yes, I forgot that that's true. Sprite gets 70% of the credit for the song idea. Sancho, as the creator, gets 25%, and rather than keep any of the credit for myself on that sub jingle, I'm just going to donate 5% of the credit to a random chatter. Your number 4... Ugh. Rusty, I was so happy to see Operation Tango in that top 10. Big fan. And then we got Pokemon Unite, which is a MOBA where you play as Pokemon. This was a bit of an addiction for me. All right, I'm not going to lie. I spent a good amount of time. I played a wicked Cramorant, okay? You don't want to mess with my top lane Cramorant. I'll come at you. Very fun game. Quick battles. I think pretty intuitive. A nice twist on like the general MOBA tower defense thing with how you like accrue points and then have to redeem them in opponents' towers. A lot of fun. Could be so much better if they changed 3 to 4 things in Balan, Matt. Yeah, I think you and I have talked about this, but I agree that there are a couple of things that they really need to tweak in Balan. Unapologetically positive. Heck yeah. Heck yeah, Rusty. Scotch and Hobby says, dude, I gotta go to bed. Work tomorrow. Have a great rest of your stream. Thanks for hanging out, Scotch. Much appreciated. You'll be able to see on Twitter what the final was in, and like I said, I'll probably post this up on YouTube as well for people that want to check out the full VOD. But thanks for hanging out, Scotch. All right, Cruisin' Blast. The racing banger of the year. I was not expecting much from a new cruising game. Okay, I mean, this one is kind of like a little bit of a technicality because this isn't a brand new game. This is the first home console port of this game. It was previously only in arcades. But man, talk about a ridiculously fun arcade racer. Just like ramps it up to 11. So cool. The theme song that plays when you boot up Cruisin' Blast. So good. So good. And then the music that plays during races is fun. Great sense of speed. Super cool unlockables. Just like a An absolute treat. Cruisin' Blast is like a must play for people that like racing. Sven say, what's good, dude? Yes, it is a top 10 stream. All right, Cyber Shadow, a like modern retro release. It very Ninja Gaiden-y. If you played The Messenger, this will be familiar to you. I played this one at the beginning of the year. Very amazing soundtrack, but it is definitely one of those where if you like, retro action releases, you should probably check out Cyber Shadow. Very good. Demon Turf. So this is a really stylish 3D platformer where you're playing as this like little, I think her name is Beelzebub, and it's very much just like a collectathon 3D platform adventure game. Very cool and very stylish. Very stylish. This is the game, if you've ever seen it, that the character is like a flat cell shaded model, very Paper Mario-esque, that you always see from the back and has like this interesting tilt shift perspective. Really takes a good screenshot. Nighttime, good to see you. How you doing today? Excited for Cyber Shadow? You're just waiting for a physical release. Yeah, I'll pick up a physical version of that when I get to it, or when it comes out. Exo 1. This is a sleeper hit of the dang year, I'm telling you. This game's on Game Pass, and it's basically like, I don't even know how to describe it when you compare it to other games. You play as this disc, that is in the screenshot here, and you can control the gravity of this disc, and you use that to build and maintain momentum as you go over these different like dunes and craters and stuff on a bunch of different planets. So you get a huge bunch of speed. You'll fly over like a dune, and you can hit the gravity to launch down and build momentum and launch up even higher again. And it's very much just like a flow state Zen kind of game. A bunch of really beautiful planets and like celestial places to explore. And like, it's one of those games where in the hands it feels really good. The story is surprisingly good. It has like a nice ambient synth soundtrack. It's definitely like a decompression. Just awesome game. You enjoyed Cyber Shadow? Yeah, Cyber Shadow was fun. Fantasian? Oh, man. Fantasian is like, if you miss PS1 era platformers, Fantasian is like the game for you. Right now it's only on mobile, and I would still recommend that you check it out. It's on Apple Arcade. But when it comes to Switch, which it inevitably will, I know people are going to latch onto this game. This game is being underappreciated right now, and it's definitely going to hit mainstream when it comes to consoles. It's so good. All the environments are actual models that they built and took pictures of. And so it's a JRPG with pre-rendered backgrounds, like, Final Fantasy VII, for example. But those pre-rendered backgrounds are the screenshots of the models that they built. And they're super detailed. They're super beautiful. It gives it this, like, this look like no other RPG. And yeah, then the combat itself is very well done. It has this concept called the Dimension, where you can basically you can opt out of encountering random battles, and then every time you would get into a random battle, it sends those enemies into the Dimension, and then when you're ready, you can go into the Dimension and basically fight all those enemies at once. So it's like the big team battle, like super fight, where you're playing against dozens of enemies sometimes all at once. So you do less, like, you spend less time grinding in actual fights, and it makes for like these bigger encounters. Or you can just turn that off and play it like a normal JRPG. And then yeah, the soundtrack is just next level. Next level. We've been listening to it this whole stream so far. So hopefully they don't copyright claim it. This stream. But yeah, Fantasian's developed by Mistwalker. So a good pedigree. Forgotten City. So, another time loop game, 2021, Year of the Time Loop. And Forgotten City it's basically asking the questions of, like, what does it mean to follow the rules and to morally be good? And so, the story is that you come across this city that is beholden to what's called the Golden Rule, where if anybody sins, by whatever definition you want to say, then everyone in the city is turned into gold. And so everyone is sort of like on edge, and they've all kind of agreed not to commit a sin or a crime for their own benefit. And then the game is about you meeting different people and figuring out, where did this golden rule come from? Exploring what the history of this city is, and as sort of an addendum to where did the golden rule come from? Why does it exist? And what is its function? It went a little deeper than I thought that it would in asking some of those questions. So very cool game. Sprite, you liked Forgotten City? Heck yeah. I did too. Hoa, this is, if you just want a chill, sort of Studio Ghibli-esque platformer, check out Hoa. It's beautiful, and it has a very nice, relaxing soundtrack. Very simple puzzle platformer. Very simple puzzle. But that's not a bad thing all the time. Not bad at all. Sometimes you just want a cozy, comfy game. It Takes Two, the other co-op game of the year, and an excellent 3D platformer, does a ton of clever and different things that I've never seen other 3D platformers do. It's one of the best platformers mechanically as a game that I've ever played, but the story is not great. The story, you really have to be able to wireframe the story out of the game, because these people are insufferable. I will say I did not like any of the characters in It Takes Two, but I loved playing it. And yes, I got to play it with Sprite, which of course was wonderful. But she did climb that tower, and we did get that platinum. Sancho, you enjoy hearing me talk about the Forgotten City? It's a hard one to talk about because I don't want to give anything away. Wife got you It Takes Two for your birthday. We call it couples therapy, the game. Yeah, but the maybe for you and your wife, it is good and opens dialogue. But for the couples in It Takes Two, their message is essentially, our marriage isn't going so well, and we seem to have some fundamental differences in how we approach life. But, remember the good times? Maybe if we're just nostalgic about the way our relationship used to be, that means that we should stay together now. We don't need to fundamentally change as people. We just need to remember that things used to be better. Not the right message. I remember. And finally, Chris Tales. I was really excited for this game. This is a JRPG that uses, in the battles and in the real world, a past, present, and future mechanic. The screen is literally split into thirds. And you, in battle, can do things send an enemy into the past or into the future, which will fundamentally change their design. Or in some cases, you can send an enemy into the past, poison them, then send them into the future, and all the poison damage that they would have taken over the course of their entire lives all happens at once, and it does a bunch of damage. So very clever mix of time travel with actual mechanics in a JRPG. But I only played 7 or 8 hours of it. It was kind of slow, and I think better in concept than in execution, mostly due to the pacing. Sancho, you pick apart the narrative? Good. Song hype indeed. Story of Us did that too with Bruce Willis and Michelle Pfeiffer. Brutal to watch. And nostalgic cures all, yes. It's very much nostalgia weaponized to ignore your problems. All right, people. So these are the games. These are our candidates. We've given them a rundown. What we're going to do is I'm going to throw you to a BRB for a minute or two. And then we're going to come back and we're going to have to start making some hard cuts. So, you know, now you have the lay of the land. Now comes the painful part. Now comes the stuff that we all want to avoid. It's time to actually start saying goodbye to some of these. All right, I'll be back in a minute. fittingly tense music for this part. All right. Time to start making some cuts. And I think there are some games that are going to be easier to cut than others. So let's just get the easy cuts out of the way. The definitely not making no chance of getting in. Yeah, I just knocked out a quick eco playthrough real quick. As you do. Morgan, good to see you. Enjoy the lurk. All right. First up, easy cut. World's End Club. So as I mentioned before, this game, I really wanted to like it. I really thought it was going to be something more in the vein of a Danganronpa or a like a Zero Escape, like a 999 kind of game. But it just, I don't know, it simultaneously was too slow and a little too kiddie, and it just didn't connect with me in the way I was hoping. So I certainly can see how this game would have its fans. But yeah, the way Zug describes it well, it missed the mark pretty hard. Or pretty far. So we're gonna say goodbye to that one. Next up, in terms of easy cuts, are there any? I mean, Tori 3D is not making it in. It was a fun couple of hours. I think it's a cool game for 99 cents. I wanted to give it a little bit of a shout out here, give it some love, but no one's favorite. No one's favorite platformer, and certainly there are better platformers on this list, so we say goodbye to Tori. Been nice knowing you, Tori. It's been fun. Next up, I love the meme, but Lizard Lady vs. the Cats is not a Game of the Year contender. I know all the Lizard Lady fans in the chat are about to blow me up, but it's some easy trophies, and it's like nothing you've ever played, but there's just too many good games that came out. All right, next easy cut, Minute of Islands. I never even finished this game. I think that this game has an incredible art style, and for a certain type of adventure game player, they probably would really like this, but it just was a little too slow for my tastes, and I wasn't always as pulled in as I wanted to. I still would consider going back and finishing it. It's not a bad game at all. It's just I know for a fact that when stacked up against some of these other games, it won't make it. All right. Next up. I think Hyperbeats is very cool, but it has a content problem. There's not that many songs, and there's not too much that you can squeeze out of those songs. I'd love to see more in there, and I had fun streaming it, but I don't think Hyperbeats is going to be one of my favorite games of the year. So we'll say goodbye to that. Rusty, you downloaded Tori 3D on Switch after hearing I played it. Still need to get to it. Oh, you'll like it. You'll 100% like it. All right, next up here, we're saying goodbye to Chris Tales. Again, a cool idea that I just think didn't quite land in execution. Not one of my favorites. So, sadly, fun, but just not a top 10. Although I would still recommend that anyone who's interested in the concept I described, check out Chris Tales, because it is, I think for a certain, if you like RPGs and you're less susceptible to pacing issues, you probably wouldn't mind that. Another fun but not standout game is Hoa. Again, beautiful and very relaxing. worth checking out. Definitely like a grab it on sale type of game. But the puzzles just weren't difficult enough for me. I wanted them to be tougher than they were. And even though I don't think that that's necessary, I think that all in all, there's just not enough in the package to make it one of my favorites this year. All right, next up. So far, so good for your predictions. Yeah, Sprite's watching, chewing her nails because she's like, oh gosh, is he going to cut something that I thought would be in his top 10? Next up here, one that we got to cut, Demon Turf. This one kind of hurt, you know? I did bring it to Indie Quest, but it was a side quest game on the podcast. Something about it, sometimes the environments felt a little bit empty, and it just didn't quite do everything I wanted it to do. It's definitely cool. It's definitely cool. And I like, if you look up screenshots and you think that this is a game for you, definitely check it out. But it's just not one of my faves this year. I would say my expectations were a little too high for that. You thought Demon Turf would make it to the top 10? Side quest by definition can't be top 10. I mean, the human brain is fickle, Joe. Sometimes, you know, and this is a good opportunity to say this. This top 10 can only ever, by definition, be a representation of the 10 favorite games I played in this exact moment. You know, we go through time and certain games become favorites that we weren't expecting. Certain games solidify themselves through nostalgia. Others fall out of the back of our heads. It's not anything but a capture of this current moment. 20% off on Steam. Oh, I would definitely say check it out if it sounds interesting. All right. Our next cut. What's it gonna be? It's 12 minutes. Okay. 12 minutes is good, not great in my eyes. Again, another Annapurna published game, one that I was very hyped for. I honestly think it's better than people are giving it credit for, but I also think that it's a little clumsy. You have to really repeat some stuff a lot, and the story is interesting, but it's not always as amazing as maybe some people would make it out to be. I will say that the dialogue and the tone of 12 minutes is all over the place. Like, it's clear that certain lines were like stitched together or recorded separately, because like you'll be talking and you'll say something very normal and then someone will respond really aggressively, and then the other person will respond back in the way that it implies that the two of you have been joking around. It just is like up and down. Whoa, Fantasian, my gosh. What you doing? Switching to here. When in doubt, main theme it up. The 12 minutes goes. 12 minutes suffers because to you the story is too gotcha. Yeah, I don't know that I would call it gotcha. But no, I mean, I guess it is. I guess that's fair. It's just, you know, they think they're doing something like crazy out there. And to me, it's like, I've seen other places do a very similar story twist better. All right. What's going to be next? Jet the Far Shore. You hate to see it go. I came around on Jet as I played it. This game has one of the best introductions to like any game. Very striking, really just like captures a tone and a mood. But the actual gameplay is kind of clunky. It's just not, it's not what I wanted it to be. I liked exploring sometimes, but a lot of times it was more frustrating than anything else. It's like one of those games where I wouldn't recommend it to someone unless I really knew their taste. We're literally, yes. Oh my gosh, what a good point. So Sprite brings this up. In Jet, the game is you exploring this like unknown planet. So the idea is, and this is in the early setup of the game, so it's not a spoiler. You know, humanity has kind of like over-industrialized, and the Earth, or presumably it's the Earth, is no longer viable to live on in the long term. So you are sent on this long deep space exploration to a new planet, to basically set up settlement for humans to scope out if this is a good place for humans to live, and then establish settlement there. And it's very like this like, you know, exploration science is weaved very heavily with like a religious narrative where you are exploring this planet, but there are also people that sort of like worship the signal coming from this planet as something like greater than themselves. So it's weaving those two worlds together. But anyways, that's irrelevant. The actual exploration is you know, going over these planets and exploring these unknown places. And you literally, the people never stop talking to you. They're always telling you exactly where to go, exactly what to do. They're always just saying things, like just talking about anything. And the entire game uses a made-up language, so you can't just listen to what they're saying. You have to read what they're saying. And so it's hard to like handle the weird, obtuse controls at the same time as exploring the world and dealing with these stubborn, chatty people. Ugh. So we have to say goodbye to Jet the Farsh. All right. Are we down to 10 yet? No. All right, another game that I think was cool but didn't quite land for me the way I was hoping that it would. Maquette. You know, now that I'm thinking about it, a lot of games this year that I was really hyped for let me down a little bit. A lesson in controlling your expectations. But yeah. So, Maquette is a good opening salvo, but I feel like it could do more with the concept than it does. Rather than explore its idea in a lot of different ways, it does a couple interesting things, but some of the puzzles take surprisingly long to solve, and it really peters out at the end. Like, rather than like building into cooler puzzles, it sort of just like slows down and becomes way easier, and then it just sort of like abruptly ends. So a fun puzzle game, especially if you got it for free on PS Plus, like totally worth trying. Not bad at all, but just a little less than. And so we say goodbye. You were very let down by Maquette. Took it hard. Yeah, I think you disliked it more than I still quite enjoyed it. At least the first half was very good. Things are getting harder, people. Things are getting harder. Now we need to get this down to 10. All right, here's some games that I don't think really have any chance of making. Splitgate. Splitgate is fun. It was a great pick up and play first-person shooter. I had a couple hours of good fun with it, but I fell off it and kind of never went back and never really thought about it again. It was a time and place game, but not one that will like stick with me for the long haul. Really, just really good free to play game, but not a top 10. Shifting them around is messy. Are you worried that the ones that I touch are going to go away? And Matt, you'll like Maquette is good. Like, it's definitely worth checking out. But not maybe not the best game I played. All right, the next one that we're going to say goodbye to is going to have to be Tough. It's going to have to be Cyber Shadow. A cool retro platformer, very fun. Really good soundtrack. But as I played it, I kind of just kept thinking to myself, man, this is like this just makes me want to go back and play The Messenger again. Svense, you can unfollow me on the stream, but you can never unfollow me in real life. All right? Yeah, Cyber Shadow's cool, but it just I don't know, it didn't land. Didn't land as hard as it could have. A very fun game though, just not one that I personally was super addicted to. Really liked it though. But yes, The Messenger, very good. Cool. This may surprise some. Might surprise some. But I think we have to cut Bowser's Fury. Again, cool execution of the Mario concept. I'd love to see a full game made in this style. But, yeah, it got a little repetitive towards the end. You know what I really didn't like about Bowser's Fury? The thing that really soured me on it was... I'm saying soured. We are looking at this. There are no longer games left that I didn't enjoy. So everything I say here is in the confines of a game that I like. But for Bowser's Fury, the Bowser that constantly grew in the middle of the map was kind of obnoxious. Because sometimes you'd have to wait for him to grow to get into certain areas, and sometimes he'd appear right when you were in the middle of doing something. It just it felt like more of a nuisance to me than something that I really loved. It's fun, but again, I'm looking at some other games here, and I don't think it really stands much of a shot of sneaking into the top 10. So, it is what it is. Yeah, R.I.P. Bowser. Oh, dude, damn, Matt, your game of the year for 2021 was Bowser's Fury. That's awesome. Every time a Blink cuts a platformer and Ari Lewis out there loses a hypothetical gold trophy. Oh man. Oh man. All right. Sprite, can we get a list check? How far have we strayed from your list as yet? Oh man. How many games do we have here? 3, 6, 9, 12, 16. So we have to cut half of these? Over half of these have to go? You didn't play Returnal, granted. It would probably be that you just love Housemarque. Okay. Man. Half of these have to go. Oh. All right. Oh. Getting more nervous. I think that okay, again, I've said that that this is a year where there aren't any like core shaking games. Like there's no Outer Wilds that came out this year. And so I feel like with the games we have left, I could reasonably construct a top 10 and none of them would be disingenuine in some way. Sleepy Sport, top 21 of 21, exactly. Also, how you doing today? Sleepy Smart, my newest Pokemon Go friend, hooking me up with all sorts of gifts from warmer weather. All right. This is hard. This is hard. All right. Let's cut one that I wish could stay, but isn't going to make it. The World Ends With You. The World Ends With You is a cool sequel, but, you know, The World Ends With You, the first World Ends With You, and different people have said this is not a unique opinion to me, but it was a time and place game. It was lightning in a bottle. When it came out, there was nothing like it. And since then, other games have come out that sort of give a similar feel, but or like it's just not as novel anymore, you know? And so while Neo: The World Ends With You, I think, is a very worthy sequel, a sequel doesn't always need to be better than the original game. And that's okay. It's hard for me to like separate my feelings on the first World Ends With You from cutting its sequel. And it's not fair to keep something around because of the series I like, right? So I think a fun game, I would recommend people check this out, but it's not one of my favorite games of the year. Ugh. You're at work, but you've been enjoying the stream in the background. Hope everyone's doing well. Hope you're doing well too, and I hope your workday is not too bad, Sleepy S'more. It's true. Mr. The Rose hasn't accepted my gift in years. You have to borrow Returnal? Yeah, man, I'd love for you to check it out. Top 20, stop now, no one gets hurt. Exactly. Come back, I didn't play Halo. I don't have a Series X. I only have an original Xbox One. I wish I had played Halo. I put it on here. And my PC is also not very good. So I'd rather wait until I do get a Series X and then play Halo then. Would Halo be your game of the year? All right, people. What are we thinking here? We gotta make some hard cuts. Man. I'm not happy to see any of this stuff go, if I'm being honest. Dread is your game of the year personally. I think that'll be true for a lot of people. Balan would be your next one to go. Oh yeah, I forgot that you don't have good taste, man. Nah, I'm kidding. All right, here's what we'll do. Let's switch it up. We've hit 20, so we're down to 20. Let's move a couple up. Are there any locks in this list? Ones that I absolutely believe will be in the top. There's got to be a couple games here that we can pull up. A couple do jump out. I think there's a few games in here that I could not imagine this top list not containing. The first one of those, Kena Bridge of Spirits. I loved Kena. It's kind of, I say that this year, a lot of games that I was highly anticipating in some ways let me down. Kena did not. Kena was sort of everything I wanted it to be. And so, beautiful game. Amazing soundtrack, tons of fun. I think deserves to be on here. And let's not make any assumptions about the games I pull up and their ultimate placement. I think there's two others that are... There's a couple others that are jumping out at me here. That's your lock symbol. So anytime we see the check mark, does that mean that I locked in something that that was on your version of the list, or just that you see us locking it in to keep? Kena's graphics. Oh, Kena's a beautiful game. All right. Our next locked game Fantasian. There's no world where Fantasian is not on the list. I've been singing this game's praises. It's everything I want in an RPG. Now, I will say this. Fantasian isn't a perfect RPG. It has a really good battle system. I think a good story, good characters, great music. It gets difficult in the second half. And I don't know that that's a strength of the game always. It's the type of game where you need to completely reskill and use specific party members with specific skills to beat certain bosses. It feels like, vanilla WoW raiding, where you need certain classes that have certain interrupts or certain silences or crowd controls, because if you don't have those specific things, the bosses will wipe the floor with you, which is not a bad thing inherently, but the game does not signpost that all the time. But that said, that is only me saying that so that I don't give a universal recommendation for this game, because my next sentence is going to be, I would tell everyone to go play this game. If what I said specifically doesn't stress you out, I would 100% tell you to go play Fantasian. All right, let me catch up here. People are suggesting stuff comes in and out of the list. See you there. Did I ever play 12 minutes? I did, but we cut it. We cut it, dude. Now I'm talking your language. Sancho, you leave for 2 minutes and the games are all off. I dropped them. Oh, I can't keep all these games in my hands. All right. So now we have two locks. I think we need to say goodbye to a game. Sometimes we have to, we have to look inwards and we have to say that a game we spent a lot of time with doesn't necessarily mean it was one of our favorite games this year. Pokemon Unite. A game I put 35 hours into. I really like Pokemon Unite, okay? I don't want to hear people saying that it's just, oh, it's a cash-in order to make money on the Pokemon license, whatever. The main reason I would say it's cutting, or I would cut it from this list, is that it has some serious balance problem. And I don't know if they fixed it at this point, but the way that this game works is, you're trying to push onto your enemy's side, and you build up these like light orbs when you kill enemies or kill the neutral mobs, and then you cache those light orbs in like the enemy baskets. And when you put enough orbs in, then the baskets get destroyed, and you're ultimately trying to destroy all the enemies' baskets. The problem is that at the 2-minute mark in every game, so in the last 2 minutes, Zapdos spawns in the center of the map, and the team that kills him, 1, gets a ton of orbs, and 2, it disables the wind-up time to cash in orbs on the enemy side. So you can just instantly deposit them, which is a big deal. That is like having the space and time to deposit the orbs is important. And so they get a huge advantage from getting all the orbs. They get another huge advantage from the instant cash-in. And in the last 2 minutes of the game, the points you score from orbs are doubled. So it means that most games are just like coin flips about who gets Zapdos. One team can be destroying the whole time, and if the other team happens to get Zapdos, they can just instantly turn around and win it. It's a catch-up mechanic that is way overtuned, and it makes playing kind of frustrating. And that's actually what slowly started to turn me off of playing the game. Sounds like Heroes of the Storm. I think Unite plays very similarly to HOTS. So for that, we are saying goodbye to Pokemon Unite. All right, let me catch up here. Round 2, Sakaguchi and Matsuno are working on a new game together. That's awesome. Did they announce platforms or anything round 2? That's incredible. And hey, Bill, how's it going? That's up to Sprite, okay, Sancho? That's up to Sprite. If she wants to come in and give her analysis on the way that it shook out, I will let her. All right. Oh, but hear noise. I think she tricked us. It is in the song. You know, it's funny, Sancho, that is the first person that unveiled the subscriber song by donating. Someone gifted a couple subs, Rengoro, who's a great guy, gifted a couple subs, and the first gift sub went to you. The world knew. The world knew that you created that song. All right, people. We have to cut another game. We have to say goodbye to another game. This one is going to surprise you. This one's going to surprise you. It seems like such a Blink game. Solar Ash. Solar Ash is beautiful. Solar Ash is a lot of fun. But it doesn't quite land the way I wanted it. That's hard though. You know, I started to cut it, and it asked me not to. I will say this, the main character of Solar Ash is the weakest part. The main character is the weakest part. So, playing through it, sometimes you get a little bit sidetracked. You lose track of the beauty of the world because the main character is kind of souring you on. Let's put it back. You know, we got to follow our hearts on this. I don't know if it's ready to go yet. I don't know if it's ready to go. You know what we'll do? Since we want to get Sprite in here, let's lock a new game in. I see a couple more on the screen that are for sure locks. For sure locks. The first one, Chicory. This list definitely has Chicory in. This game is so full of heart. So much fun, so addictive. Really just like everything I want in like a top-down Zelda style game. Just like on all fronts, a well-made, well-produced game. Just so good. So we're gonna move Chicory up to the top. And Solar Ash survives for now. See, but now Solar Ash is sweating. Solar Ash knows that we thought about cutting it. But as I look through these, you know, maybe there's some that we could cut first. Maybe there's some we could cut first and see how we feel. So we've got another lock. And now Sprite can visit whenever she wants. Or what do y'all think? Should we lock another one in or should we cut another one? Sprite says cut. There she is.
Heck.
She's here. She's here to heckle me. Take it to the spreadsheet. Are you clenched the whole time?
I just mean in general.
Yeah.
Yeah, take them to the
You do gotta take. You know, we can't be so. At this point, we can't be so bold in cutting stuff. We have to simmer. And we gotta sit with it. Sleepy S'more says hello. Ari Lewis is waving to me. Thanks, Rusty. Hi, Rusty. Best 5,000 points that Sancho ever spent. I need to have another 5,000 point redemption just for Sancho that says you're allowed to make one dad joke.
An obvious cut. Let's see.
There's an obvious cut here?
I think there's obvious cut.
Now Rusty, he waved to me and then he lied. He's embarrassed. 1 to 2 obvious cuts, huh?
Hey, everyone, we were shoveling the driveway yesterday, and I thought that Blink was at our neighbors, which was super weird. We don't talk to our neighbors. He just stopped shoveling and waved, and so I did the TV style, turn around, look behind me, be like, why are you waving at that? And then an hour later, he was like, no, I was just waving.
I was just waving to Leah. I was just excited to see my favorite person at the end of my driveway. And that's when I realized that 12 years later, the love has finally drained. That tank is on E.
Shut up.
We had a good run, though. So you have one. Is your obvious cut in the top or the bottom row?
Yeah, exactly, Sven. Not my fault. He did a very convincing, as if we were waving at seeing someone he doesn't see that often.
E for energized, man, he's saving me. Thank you. All right. She says it's in the top row is her obvious cut. If I look at the top row, the one that I feel quickest to cut, honestly, even though we almost cut Solar Ash, Pokemon Snap. Look at her face. Look at her paint. She's like, I thought that would be in the top 10.
Oh, that was one.
Mm. You saw her face clench. Yeah. Or maybe she's just desperately trying to hide her feelings, to not give anything away, to not influence it. But so new Pokemon Snap is awesome. Like, it's good to be back. I do think that it is a little shy of the original Pokemon Snap. They make you replay stuff a lot, and some of the levels don't like super do it for me. I really thought that I was gonna get addicted and try to 4-star all the photos, but I ended up just kind of like setting it down and not going back. This seemed like it really should have been the type of game that I played all year. And this is like the type of game that I used to always beg for on Wii U. I was like, give me a Snap game. It would be perfect on Wii U. But I don't know. Maybe it's just my mood at the time. But I don't know. It wasn't quite what I was hoping it would be. How'd you feel about Pokemon?
Like, it was a good game, but I don't think.
She has way less tears in cutting stuff.
I do, especially in this year. Like, I mean, I have what I predict as the top 10 for him, but I have no idea which actually. I don't want to give it on my prediction, but next.
Hard. You know, in looking at this, I feel like there's a lot of like strong contenders. I feel like there's 2 more locks. Returnal. I loved Returnal. I think that Returnal is... Well, let me look at my list to confirm this. Returnal, I think, is the best PS5 game. I don't know. Kana could be one of the best. We have to not count the Hades port. Pathless is really good. But Returnal is one of the best PS5 games right now.
You also said let me look at my list. Really, you were like, let me look at my 5 games.
Yeah, my list of physical games on my shelf. Game cases. So, that, you know what? That leaves us with 6 slots left. And my God, 14 left? I have to cut 8 of these? That can't be right. God, dude. My God. I can hear myself shouting in the other room.
I grew up on the...
I'm starting to get nervous now because I feel like there's more games that I want to see on the top 10 than that can actually fit in the top. Say goodbye to Sprite.
Thanks for saying.
Yeah.
Wilds. Echoes of the Sky.
That's Sprite's stance. Oh man. Okay. I miss her. So what do you guys think this is a good top 10? Are we feeling content? Are we happy with the list? I think I think unfortunately we're gonna have to cut Tormented Souls. Definitely one of the cooler survival horror games I played this year. But I don't know. I just don't think that there's room for it. If you're a fan of Resident Evil style games, I would definitely say go check this one out. Like old survival horror games. Just don't think that we can fit it. This is another one. This is another Solar Ash. Where I put it up here and I was like, can we though? Can we cut it though? Gotta sit on that one for a minute. All right. Tormented Souls goes over in the Solar Ash bucket of games I tried to cut, but then my heart started pumping fast. You bought it because I recommended it? Oh, man. Dude, I'm honored, man. This is hard. Did I feel like this year's top 10 was going to be this difficult? I did not, honestly. This is the hardest top 10 I think we've ever made. Again, it's because there's fewer games that I really feel like... I feel like I feel similarly about a lot of these.
Subscribe to Link's awesome Twitch channel you've unlocked, and now can use some of his emotes. Watch him play some lovely games commercial free, but the best part of stream is when Sprite comes and says hi.
Sensei, thank you for that gift. The Hungry Bill. Thank you, my friend. You feel like I'm weird about it? I hem and haw. Once I crack my knuckles and get down to it, you can decide pretty quick. Okay, but there's such a risk of cutting good games out. Such a risk. You know what? We need to consult my feelings on some of these games. Per backloggery. Sometimes that's all it takes. Let's see. What do we say? About... what I said about Ratchet and Solar Ash. Don't say you heard the hem. Oh, man. All right. We do have some song hype. We definitely do. All right, people. I think we have to make a cut. That's my hot take, is we have to make a cut. What did I say about Tormented? I know how I feel about it now. I'm curious how I felt about it when it first... Damn, this is hard. What's the bevy of choice? We are rocking an iced Americano that's about to run out, and I'll need to go get another beverage here in a moment. Is it from Outer Wilds? Yes, it is a parody of the Outer Wilds Ventures theme song. All right, let's run through, and I'm going to note one positive and one negative for each of these games. See if that shakes out any feelings laid dormant inside me. Puzzling Places. Amazing, relaxing game. Super fun. Honestly, my only negative that I have to say about it is that I haven't had a lot of time to play it. I've only played it a couple of times. Is that enough to discredit it? I don't know. Shadowverse. Super addictive, super fun card battling RPG. I think that it has very well done combat mechanics. But downside, story, it just is nothing. Story is boring. Before Your Eyes, very touching game, very heartfelt, very much my kind of game. Downside, the webcam eye tracking didn't always work super good. The technology was kind of jank, I think because I wear glasses, specifically black thick-rimmed glasses. Because I tried, like lighting my face evenly and everything, and I still had to recalibrate it. Metroid Dread. Really responsive, good challenge. Downsides are they reuse some mini bosses too much, and the world is set up kind of weird, and they hold my hand a little too much. I didn't like them always cutting off a certain area. Cruise and Blast, positive, super addicting, super fun to check out. Downside, just not that much to do, I guess. Limited content. Tormented Souls, upside, great survival horror game, very addicting. Downside, do I have a downside for Tormented Souls? Maybe that's why I didn't want to cut it. Maybe I don't cut Tormented Souls. I have not much negative to say on it. Exo 1, super fun, super fluid. Downside, there was at least one level that was pretty challenging and kind of jank. Forgotten City. Interesting story, great narrative. Fun to explore. But, downside, some of the dialogue is a little stiff. It Takes Two, obvious up and downside. Great gameplay, terrible story. Operation Tango, also incredible gameplay. Two really good co-op games that came out this year. Tons of fun. The memories of streaming this with Rusty are too real. Downside, they reuse some stuff towards the end. They reuse some puzzles. Balan Wonderworld, great game, no notes. Psychonauts 2. Great environments, really rich, detailed characters. Honestly, the only problem I really had with Psychonauts was that I was playing it on an Xbox One, which didn't always run it really well. But I've seen footage of it running beautifully, and I think I would have liked it even more if I had. Now, Psychonauts 2 is actually going to get locked as a part of this. We're moving Psychonauts 2 up. I really loved that game. Ratchet and Clank, beautiful, fun, solid game. Didn't leave too much of a lasting impression on me, honestly. I know that that's like blasphemy to say. The characters, Rivet in particular, were really good. I just prefer a little more collectathon and a little less shooting in my... Repetitive map / game a bit. For Metroid Dread. Cruise and Blast. Okay. Bruise and Blast. Oh. All right. What games here do I... Honestly, you know what? People aren't going to want to hear this. Let's just make sure of some stuff here. I think our next cut... I don't want to cut this game. I really love this game. I just think I didn't have enough time with it. I think if I had played more Puzzling Places, that it would be a much stronger contender for top 10. But, you know, when you've only played a game for 3-4 hours, even if those are really strong, like... Hard to say how I'll feel about it in the long term, and I don't want to give too much credit to a really strong first impression. So we're going to say goodbye to Puzzling Places. Sad. Which leaves us with 12 games and 5 spots. That is too much. You know what's one thing that I'm really struggling with in this list right now? It Takes Two and Operation Tango. I feel very similarly about these two games. I almost feel like I think I might have enjoyed Operation Tango more on the whole. I mean, that stream with Rusty is just so legendary. The context was so good. It Takes Two was a lot of fun to play with, Leah, but we both would agree that that story dragged it down a bit. Like, it feels like there's not room for both of these, but it's so hard to decide which one to cut. Let me just consult with my past self for a moment. Yeah, well, that's true. Sometimes I leave myself little notes on Backloggery that help give me context. Help shape, help shape my feelings. The problem is that basically everything that's left here is everything that's left here is like a solid 4-star game. I don't even have Operation Tango on my Backloggery. Oh no, I do. You only kept one in your prediction list. Could you have seen it going either way, or did you ultimately feel very confident in your prediction? I think everything here is a 4-star game on my backlogger. Fun fact. I think one edged out the other, but it was decently close. He's stressing. He's stressing. All right, let's follow my heart here. Here, you know what? I hate to do this. I liked Before Your Eyes a lot. I would recommend this to everyone. This is very much a me kind of game. But the tech was stubborn. It's the only game here that let's confirm. It is the only game that made me cry. But it might have to go. I kind of feel like It Takes Two and Operation Tango are in a group. I feel like XO1 and Before Your Eyes are in a group. This music is so good. Honestly, you know what? Oh, Kana 2, yeah. Honestly, I think Ratchet and Clank is going to go. When I look at, like, when I think of the best platformers this year, I don't think Ratchet is it. I think it's really good, but I think I'm just not personally as much of a Ratchet and Clank guy as I am some other platformers. It's a little more combat focused than I would want. It's one of those games that this is the perfect example of a game that I thought was really fun, but I don't think I'm going to remember in the long term. Like, everything about this game is just going to fall out of the back of my brain. Gone. Graphics are so sick and cool boss fight. I agree with everything you say, Matt. Everything you say, I agree with. It's one of those things where there's just not enough space on the list. You dunzo. We truly are at the point where no version of this, no combination that includes these 5 games and 5 of the remaining games would truly be wrong in any way. At all. Like, it's just... It just is what it is. All right, Rusty says, hear me out. How would this have played out if Sprite and I had played Operation Tango and somehow in my magical list of rules, it was still in contention for Game of the Year? Did the two of you stream it so that I could watch? Oh my gosh, I would love that. We gotta lock Metroid in. It was really good. You know, I have my minor grumbles aside. I think that it has a couple of pacing issues and some of those mini bosses are kind of meh. But there's no denying. Metroid Dread is very good. It's not my favorite Metroid, but damn, it is a good one of those. We're locking it in. Oh my god, that's so funny. All right, I'm going to group these into categories here. We already kind of started. We have the I have to choose a co-op game category. We have the indie games that I really liked and just occasionally had kind of a weak execution. I'm going to put Shadowverse, Cruisin' Blast into their own section of games I really want to see on the list, despite not knowing if they really belong. Tormented Souls and Solar Ash become games I already tried to cut that for some reason my hand was stayed. And then Balan Wonderworld and Forgotten City. Balan Wonderworld is in its own category. So how do I feel about Forgotten City? Forgotten City. Really, really cool story. I love the setting. I think thematically, I think it does some awesome things. My only real gripe with it is some clumsiness in some of the writing. When I really think back playing this, like, this was a hell of a lot of fun. I think I'm moving it up. I think we're bringing Forgotten City into the locks. No? Forgotten City's good. You didn't see that one getting top 10? Oh, man. Honestly, I think Operation Tango is the one I want up here. That's not to say It Takes Two can't get up here, but I don't have any real... I feel like there are things that Operation Tango did oh-hum, but I don't think that there's anything that it did bad in the way that It Takes Two did something actively bad. You thought that you liked Forgotten City more than me? Maybe you did. Maybe you did. Hmm. Tough. This is tough. Now, you know what? If I'm hovering on these, I think I was right initially. I don't think Solar Ash is going to make the cut. Really, again, really great game, but I think Solar Ash... When I think of Solar Ash, I think it's just a slightly worse version of the Pathless. I think the Pathless is basically the same as this game, but a little worse. Again, it really has a frustrating main character. She's very obnoxious. You disagree? Ooh, you disagree in what way? Very curious. We can bring 2 of these up. Only 2, huh? I mean, Matt, what did you not like about the Pathless? Maybe I can help guide you on whether or not this game is for you. He moves the game further down the page. Well, actually, I don't understand. We just move them around. We touch the games to see how they feel in the hands. Damn people. What have we done to ourselves? How is this year kicking my ass so much? With these left, you have 2 games what would be the 2 you would move up? That. You won't influence me. I'm too stubborn for that. Tormented Souls, Shadowverse. Okay. Okay. He's just saying that because those are the two games that he bought because I told him to. No side stories you can remember in the Pathless? um... Hmm. Hmm. Uh-huh. All right, let's address it, people. Let's address it. Do I want to put Balan Wonderworld as my number 10? Just to stick it to the haters? Do I want to make a point with Balan Wonderworld? Yes. But that's not why we make these lists. Balan has some serious problems. Like, it is not better than, Ratchet and Clank, which we already cut. So as much as I'd love to stick it to people and put it at number 10 and get my social media clout, I don't actually think that's being honest. I think that's being kind of an edgelord about it. So we'll let the joke die to make this easier. Or will we? Yeah, Balan's gotta go. Of the ones that are down here that I feel like most deserves a lock, even though the story is kind of boring, is Shadowverse. Like, I've been really loving this game. I've dumped 30 hours into Shadowverse. I think it's really good. So here's my feelings on the games as it stands. Solar Ash is a solid game that I just don't think rises to the level of perfection. And I feel like, I don't know, am I trying to keep it on because I like it more than I realize? Or am I trying to keep it on because it seems like the kind of game I would like? Like, am I trying to build a list that just kind of like includes stuff that seem like Blink-ass games, but in reality, maybe this one just wasn't quite as strong? Or am I, struggling to let it go because I actually like it more than I thought I did? Try a diff game? What do you mean? Like for the soundtrack? I would never change the soundtrack. Hmm. See if you want to make a decision on a different game. You sure has been talked about your nervous tick of moving things and realigning top picks is super interesting. Man, everyone's calling me out on my BS here. Oh. Cruisin' Blast. I mean, how do we feel about Cruisin' Blast? Certainly deserving of a spot. The content is a little light. I've kind of done everything I can in this game. How does that feel up there? Just try each of these out. I did really like Before Your Eyes. This isn't permanent, I'm just testing it, seeing how it feels. How's EXO 1? You literally did not mention it to you once? Well, that's because I played it recently and it was played when you weren't around. Because I had to be staring at my webcam. Honestly, I don't know. I kind of feel like EXO 1 and Cruisin' might take it here. That feel. Love that you have Sprite in chat for these moments. I mean, that feels kind of decent. All right, let's do this. Let's lower. That's too many games. Let's lower down. We haven't cut or locked them in, you jabronis. A moment to think. Take a bite of my peanut butter apple here while I contemplate. Peanut butter apple's so good. God, I really liked playing It Takes Two, though. I had so much fun playing that with Leah. Alright. I'm cutting before your eyes on grounds of technical issues. Because I had to readjust and recalibrate a lot, even though, again, this is the only game here that really made me cry. Other than Kana. And, oh no, Chicory made me choke up a little bit too. Tormented Souls made my eyes sweat, but that's not crying. Right, Trav? But because I had to recalibrate it, it did take me out of things sometimes. I think if my experience was a little smoother, I would be feeling a little stronger about this one. About it being like in the top 5. But I do want to give it a shout out. This game, people should play this game. I don't know. Really good. Yeah, you use a webcam for it, Matt. So your webcam tracks your eyes, and every time you blink, the scene in the game changes. And so you're playing through someone's entire life, and when you blink, it jumps to a new memory. And so, you know, sometimes that's like a few minutes in the future, sometimes that's a few years in the future. And there are moments where you have to keep your eyes, like, you desperately try to keep your eyes open because you want to stay in that moment just a little bit longer. As I'm explaining it to you, though, I'm like, damn, maybe I don't want to cut that. I just love originality. What if I took Cruisin' Blast out? And Forgotten City out? I left Operation Tango and It Takes Two in. What then, people? How do we feel about that? How do I feel about that? There's no rule that says I only can have one co-op game in here. I love a co-op game. You know what? There's no peanut butter apple on the top 10, and that's a shame. Yeah, do whatever you want, no job. Rusty says, I need to get some sleep, but this stream has been wonderful. I also hope me leaving removes any potential bias with Operation Tango. I'll check the VOD in the AM. Yeah. No bias, man. Okay, people are calling Ari Lewis bias. First of all, what kind of friend doesn't even take tomorrow off work because they know my Game of the Year stream is going to run late into the night? Okay? Second of all, people are claiming that I have bias, right? That I have bias. Did I bias playing it with Sprite? Bias playing it with Rusty? But in a game that is exclusively co-op and requires you to work with your partner, is not the experience of playing with that partner relevant? Is not the fact that for 2 full streams, Rusty and I had an absolute blast playing Operation Tango not relevant? Is the fact that I used to every single day be like, all right, is it more It Takes Two? Or Sprite would be like, we should play some It Takes Two today. And I'd be like, hell yeah. Like, these games are defined by the people you play them with. Honestly, I'm feeling better now that I have them both up in there. All right. I've officially landed on There's Not Room for Tormented Souls. It's a really good horror game, but there's not room for it. I'm sorry, Tormented Souls. I tried. Both. And honestly, I don't know.
Subscribe to Link's awesome Twitch channel you've unlocked, and now can use some of his emotes. Watch him play some lovely games commercial free, but the best part of stream is when Sprite comes and says hi.
Mr. Round 2, thank you so much, dude. Much appreciated, my friend. Now that I'm looking up here, the one that I'm like, does it belong up there is XL1. But the problem is, like, none of these feel right in that spot. Cruise and Blast, maybe a little too slight. XL1, a little too frustrating at parts, kind of clumsy, but just a really cool idea. Forgotten City, love the concept, but didn't always love all the writing. Solar Ash. I feel like, honestly, this last slot could go to any one of these, and there's not really any strong preference. I think I've talked the most about XO1, so maybe that. This is really... This final choice, like which one of these 4 lands up here, is really pretty arbitrary. Like, it's so hard to choose between them. I just love a good co-op game, and I love a good space game. Damn, I love it. Top 9. It's a top 9 to 13. It's like slot 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then 10 through 13. All right. Let's shuffle these up so they're not in any particular order. Almost all 4 suffer from very similarly weighted issues. I agree with that, yeah. They all feel just slight... Like, they're all 4 out of 5 stars for what feel like equal reasons. This is definitely... I don't do this in my, like, the list I will post, but if I was on a podcast This is definitely where I would list the other 3 games as honorable mention. I think that might be it. I think we might have our 10. Yeah. Hmm. All right. That's 10, right? But now the hard part. I would love to know what you got correct out of 10. And at the very end, you can come in and we'll give a little breakdown of your thoughts on it. We can have our little mini debate. In the meantime, we must unhide the bracket. Bum, bum, bum. Welcome to the bracket, people. Now, we're faced with the impossible task of ranking them. Just choosing 10 wasn't enough. We need to put them in the right order. 8 out of 10, pretty good. Pretty good. All right, people. Before we rank, I'm going to draw some suspense. I'm going to throw you to one more BRB while I grab a drink. Got to coat this throat. And then we'll rank these bad boys. Don't go anywhere. You ready to rank these people? We're doing it. All right. Honestly, I don't know that this will take as long to rank as it has in the past. But maybe it will. Yeah, thank you for the kind words, Matt. All right. Let's get down to ranking. I think we're just going to group them into rough categories. We're going to group them into upper, middle, and bottom just to start non-committally and see how we feel. I feel like Kana, maybe Fantasian, and Chicory might be top contenders. Feel like Metroid, Returnal, Psychonauts. This is mostly based on the order that we added them. So, we take Game of the Year very seriously. I'm just going to throw these into slots, get them sized appropriate. Then we're going to start rearranging them. All right. I don't want to give any ideas about the top 3 here. But in looking at this, you feel like you know the number 1? God, if you know the number 1, could you tell me? I'd like to know the number 1. I honestly don't know yet. No. So true. Oh my god. Okay. Let's start by ranking these bottom 4. I feel like any order I put them in is going to feel okay. Like, I mean, Shadowverse. Does Shadowverse go below XL1 though? That's hard to say. I mean, Shadowverse that does have the downside of that story, but damn. Building those decks is so fun. Shadowverse literally got me to download the mobile version of Shadowverse. So that's got to account for something. I feel like I would put It Takes Two behind Operation Tango. How about this? How does that seem? Psychonauts 2. At 6? Honestly, my only real complaint with Psychonauts 2 is that the version I played on Xbox One had some performance issues. And like, is that really that fair to knock it down too much for that when it's otherwise an incredible game? It takes two to tango. Huh. All right, let's see one thing here. Just want to double check with myself. Damn it. I suppose, you know, I love Fantasian. I don't know that Fantasian can be number 1 though, because I haven't finished it. These two I both gave 5 stars and I finished both of them. So it seems like one of these two would be a better contender. Maybe Fantasian belongs at number 3 because of that. I'm feeling like that might be appropriate. So let's look down here. You know, we had Operation Tango up for a long time, and I feel like the downsides of It Takes Two are stronger. Think of it like this. Between Operation Tango and It Takes Two, Operation Tango has like very good gameplay, and It Takes Two has a little bit better, I think. If you just are looking at the gameplay exclusively, It Takes Two has more variety, more interesting situations. So it's just a little bit better. But then if you look at the downsides, I feel like Operation Tango's weaknesses are like, yeah, and It Takes Two weaknesses are more than that. So the gap, the disparity between the high highs and the low lows of It Takes Two is bigger than Operation Tango, which is more of like a comfortable middle ground with a slight edge towards positivity there. So I think that means Operation Tango belongs higher. Honestly, that might be an okay order. At the bottom. Did I plat Returnal? No, I did not. I beat it, but I didn't go back and grind out the platinum. What if I tried Psychonauts 2 above? How's that feel? Feels okay. Feels okay. I kind of like Returnal at 4. I'm not sure if Returnal's too high right now. Metroid Dread is interesting because I kind of feel like I'm deciding this middle row in my head. That's why I jump from Returnal to Metroid Dread. Metroid Dread, I played all in one big sitting. Or two big sittings. And I gobbled it up. Really liked it. But when I look back on it, I don't look back on it with the same warmth that I look back on like Super Metroid with. Obviously, we haven't gone, enough time hasn't passed for that to necessarily kick in on nostalgia, but I do remember some of the pacing issues that I didn't love. Also, Metroid Dread has, I don't know how to describe this, like kind of a sterile quality. Not all the environments were like super interesting. But man, when it works, it works. It controls so well, and I did have tons of fun. Here's what I really wish from Metroid Dread is that they would stop talking. Why does every game talk so much? I don't want to talk to Adam every time I go to the freaking save point. Just shh. Let me get lost in your world. Gosh. I don't know. The more I look at this order, I'm like, that might be okay. That might be okay. I wonder, does Shadowverse need to be dropped down one? That definitely feels wrong. These three SOBs. Chicory, Fantasian, and Kana. So Chicory, I think is like, I think of as the best indie game of the year. I know Kana is also an indie game, but it doesn't feel like an indie game because the studio has such experience with CGI and it had the backing. Ember Lab had that backing from Sony, so it almost feels like a double A kind of game. Whereas Chicory feels like true, genuine indie, and I really loved it. Fantasian I want to put higher. I honestly kind of thought for a while that Fantasian might be my number one. But I guess I can't deny that I haven't finished it and that difficulty spike was a major downside, whereas there weren't any real major problems with Chicory or Kana. My gut says this. Oh, scared myself. Chicory at 1, Kana at 2? It's pretty close. Gotta sit with that for a minute. Soak it in. How we feel about that? That feel right? uh I don't feel like anything in that bottom row can move up. Nah, we're not at lock status yet, Bill. Interesting. How so, Matt? Hmm. I'm going to move this middle row around just to see how something looks to me. Is this putting Metroid Dread too high? Wild that Returnal is so high up, you know. When Returnal was announced, I thought I would like it, but I didn't think I'd like it as much as I did. Honestly, I think... I don't know. This might be an order. They kind of sorted themselves. I don't know about Metroid and Psychonauts. Man, what's been holding you back on Returnal? Gotta play it. Feels pretty good. Oh man, should we soak it in for a minute and see if this is it? Is this our order? Let me see how Kana feels at number 1. What are we thinking here? Damn, that feels good too. Damn it. Damn, that also feels so good. How is it possible that there's 2 #1 games of the year? How is that possible? How? Explain it to me. Love this song. I don't know. Something feels... I think Kana and Chicory are both incredible and both deserve number one. But putting one over the other feels wrong in both situations. It's really close. I think if I had finished Fantasian would be no. How's that look? Feels decent. Tough to choose between Chicory and Kana. I got all the trophies in both of them. Other than Kana having a difficulty trophy. You know, I think it's just missing one thing. I think I know what the problem is. I think what we need to do, just fix one little thing. There we go. There we go. We're gonna just soak this one in for a couple of minutes. Well, maybe not that long. But by God, I think we might have it, people. I think we might have landed on it. Do a couple sanity checks before we call it, though. Operation Tango, It Takes Two, Shadowverse, XO1. Yeah. I like Returnal being in the top of this middle row. Fantasian, because I didn't beat it, feels good at 3. I could swap maybe Metroid and Psychonauts, but again, my concerns with Metroid were more gameplay, and my concerns with Psychonauts are more technical, based on me playing it on old hardware, which I don't think is fair. Much more connected to the story in Psychonauts. Fantasian, probably number 1 in a world where I beat it. Kana and Chicory, very interchangeable for my favorite game of the year. I really want to be clear that these two are super close. Yeah, Outer Wilds Echoes of the Eye is the 0.5. Is Outer Wilds that good? Outer Wilds is so that good. Outer Wilds is maybe my favorite game of all time. I think it is. Everything Sprite says is true. Gotta be honest, I was feeling a little underwhelmed with 2021, but this list has me hella hyped. Oh, heck yeah, Dean. All right, people. It's locked. We did it. Now, if Sprite wants to come in We can break down what she thought it was going to be and how badly I bungled it. As if me choosing my own top 10 list is possibly something I could make a mistake on. Damn. This was a hard one. Of the 2 years we've done this, I think the 3 years, this was the hardest one.
What? Really?
The hardest one?
Get the top 10? Kidding me? Do you remember the last couple years?
Okay, maybe that's recency bias.
Yeah. There was there was people unfriending, there was a couple brawls, there was some pretty contentious years. I feel like this one, like you just said, round 2, it feels like this year it didn't have a lot of games that people would fight tooth and...
Yeah, and most years I personally, going into these, and I guess that was kind of true here, I usually feel like I have 5 to 7 games that I sort of just know will be there. And then it's a fight for the last few spots. But this one was much more open. Much more anything could happen. All right.
So, he sent me a picture of the computer with the 20... How many games you started with?
Interesting. This is an interesting list. Wow, I like to see. So here's the... That's gonna be too hard to see. Yeah. So you can see that she has... I sent her a screenshot before we started. She circled and numbered what she thought that they would be. So in her head, my number 10 was Solar... Oh, okay. Okay. 10. I thought 10 was Splitgate.
No.
So 10 was Solar Ash. 9 was XO1. Very close on that one.
Had it there for...
8 was Kana. Wow.
I didn't think you liked it that much. Number 2.
7 was not on this list. Oh, 7 was Chicory. Huh. 6 was It Takes Two. Close. 5 was Psychonauts.
Yeah.
Sick.
Got one.
4 was Cruise and Blast. Nice. 3 was Metroid Dread. All right, close. 2 was Shadowverse. Oh, nice. And I thought it was Hyperbeats. And 1 was Fantasian. Okay. Do you see my logic for not putting Fantasian at number 1?
Not really. Because you specifically put games on your list that you say it doesn't matter if I've beat them. And the reason why you haven't beat Fantasian is because it's on Apple Arcade, not because you don't.
But what about the difficulties?
Love games. Would ever be about with difficulty spike, and you have to switch a lot. You want to have to think. What are you talking about? Difficulty spike, Kana, easiest game ever except for the boss fights. And it turns into...
I mean, Kana does have some Dark Souls boss fights. Why we love Sprite.
And Shadowverse, I put Shadowverse as number 2 because you play it all the time, you like it, and you all... Oh, sorry. I'm probably not hitting the noise threshold. I think it's a little high right now. I put Shadowverse as number 2 for him because he plays it a lot, seems to really enjoy it, downloaded the mobile game, he liked it so much, and then over here doing it dirty by putting it number 9. So, shows how well you know someone.
Look at this Outer Wild Echoes.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, as you say that.
I put Chicory as number 7 because I remembered you really liked it, but I didn't think it was enough, and that I wasn't sure how long. It sticks in your head because it was a fun, unique game, but and then Metroid Dread I put as number 3 because you played it all in like one day, and you really liked it. The two games I did not have on my list were Returnal and Operation Tango. I remembered he liked Returnal, but it didn't seem like it really stuck with him. I was really surprised when he put that on his list. And then Operation Tango, I mean, I just thought he would cut one of the two, and I thought It Takes Two would edge out Operation just a little. I feel like I see what you're saying about It Takes Two versus Operation Tango, but I feel like when I'm even just the graphics, like It Takes Two take way out of the water for Operation Tango.
Grand Blue Fantasy had a collab with
Shadowverse.
You didn't really like the collab of it.
Yeah. And yeah, Kane is Beautiful has a really, really good soundtrack. I mean, like we talked about, it's like cinematic, but there wasn't a lot to do. So it was really funny to me that he put that as number 3. When I feel like Kana honestly really fits with like the XO1, Solar Ash, Cruise and Blast. Like I feel like it fits overall in that genre because it's like it did a lot, but it feels like it's missing. That's why I put it as your number 8. I put it as his number 8.
I feel like you undervalued Kana, but talking to you maybe locked in my heart that Fantasy is number 1.
Uh-oh, guys, I influenced him. He's actually susceptible to the influence. Oh no. I should not be involved. No, I know that he'll just do whatever he wants to do.
Oh, what back? now I'm just testing him out. Again, we feel pretty similarly about this top 3. Unlocking. Now, Kana's not number.
This reminds me of that time where he had Astrobot he had it in his top 10 for so long. I might even still be in his top 10. And he never mentioned it ever to anyone. He's like, this is my favorite game of all time.
The only metric of what makes a good game is how much I talk about it out loud.
Yep. Because that's what sticks with you. What do you mean? Let me go check my backlog to see if I liked it.
Oh. Honestly, I think I feel pretty good about these.
Yeah, those are fine. I think Psychonauts 2 definitely belongs higher than Metroid.
Yeah, I agree.
Don't know if it should be below Returnal, but that's you. I put it on my top 10 for you as number 5. So if we leave it there, it's
it feels good.
Yeah. I mean, really, so someone says, Steve, what was your game of the year? You say Chicory, and they're like, what the hell game is that?
Amazing. Ah, you hear the song, you guys? Come on. But like, God, can you really make your game of the year something that you didn't beat?
Yes.
That seems absurd.
Not if it's an RPG. I'm not here to influence you. I'm just saying I don't. The criteria being it's not number one simply because I haven't finished it is criteria. Dumb.
I still don't know if it belongs at number 1.
No, I'm saying that I can't influence him, but I'm going to try. What are you talking about? I'm always fighting.
She does love to try. And honestly, sometimes, not an influence, but sometimes it unlocks something in you where you're like, I should consider that. Let me explore that feeling. I mean, you guys have seen how stubborn I am about making this. I literally have been going for 4 hours to make something that most people make in 5 minutes. I'm not about to be like, yes, dear, I'll make that my number 1 game because you told me to. Yes, dear.
I'm trying to think. There was one game that we almost broke up over. Not on this list. Different year.
Honestly, I like these swapped.
That? Yeah.
In at number 10, 15. I think back on hate. So here's what happened last year. Last year I made 13 Sentinels number 1 and Hades number 2. When I look back, it's like, shouldn't Hades?
I don't know. I still. Maybe that's what we. I don't know. I still feel like 13 Sentinels deserves number 1. Hades is more replayable, but 13 Sentinels is more impactful. And I obviously have put in the most hours in Hades the entire year. Ah, Astrobot was number 1? God!
I like you, Matt. I like you, Matt. Yeah, but we can all agree on that. With Hades at number 2 and Returnal number 4, any desire to explore more roguelikes? It takes a certain type of roguelike. Not just the concept of a roguelike doesn't do it for me, but I feel like the games that do something special with the form, I end up really liking. I get very addicted to them. Yeah. I like that swap, but I think I stand with where this is here. In terms of how much you would pursue a relationship with someone that has this as their top 10 games of 2021. Yeah?
Yeah. I don't hate any of those games. Not mad about any of them.
And you're not mad about any of the cuts?
No, the two that I thought that you would have that you didn't have was Cruisin' Blast.
It was close.
And Solar Ash, but again, Solar Ash was exactly like it could have been any of those four.
Yeah, the two. It's interesting that the two, we're both in that final round of cuts, right? Order aside, we were in the right ballpark in terms of games we love. Outer Wilds, Echoes of the Eye, number 1, number 0.5, both because it is better than the number 1 game, and because it is the best half game of the year.
It was 10 hours. Basically, it was a game.
Beautiful.
Yeah, fun.
Good
Congrats.
stuff. All right, we locked it in. We're good. Thanks everybody for hanging out for this one. I love a good Game of the Year stream so much. I know that it's a lot of watching me just labor over agonizing decisions, but at the end of the day, fun to do.
Again, I was the kind of person who would take a test and I'd be done in 20 minutes, no matter whether I knew it really well or didn't know it really well. It was going to be 20 minutes. It would be the same for me with picking games of the year. 20 minutes. Even if I was starting at 0, figure it out in 20 minutes.
Heck yeah.
Blink, agonizing for 4 hours is always entertaining.
I love the painful process so much. I'm glad it was a blast, dude. You've been looking forward to it, so thank you. Matt, I hope it lived up to your expectations. I do. All right, we got to call it here, people. here's our top 10 games of 2021. You know, as I said, I still stand by a really solid year, but Echoes of the Eye accepted or exempted. It's no 2019, and maybe even no 2020. You get it, Matt. And dude, Dan, I'm glad it's good background. All right, we are going to go say hi to our good friend COE33 again, who is currently doing some GameStop shopping live.
Fun.
That is a cool idea. So let's go show COE some love. Be kind to my good friend. Again, thank you all so much for hanging out. This was an absolute.
Hi.
I'll chat with you all very soon.